Jay Crawford, Adam the Bull, Garrett Bush, Tyvis Powell, Jason Lloyd. Plus, ba-da-da-da-da, you're loving him, Mikey McNuggets. And so many big names, it would take me hours to say all of their names. The ultimate Cleveland sports show starts now. Booyah!
Welcome to the ultimate Cleveland sports show, along with Jason Lloyd and Earl the Pearl with his Cavs flag. It's time for the latest edition of the ultimate Cleveland sports show. I'm Adam the Bull. We got Mike and we got Anthony behind the glass. We got AJ the Slugger himself, Jason's son, in studio today, showing off the guns. Do we want to put him on camera?
He cuts the shirt sleeves off every shirt.
Put him on camera. He's showing off his guns, man.
He cuts the sleeves off every shirt. He wore the. I didn't even know he wore that. That was the softball shirt we had from last year.
Which, by the way, Stephanie sent out the email yesterday.
Where? So what's going on? I was told we're not going to be able to play UCSS versus WKYC.
I just told her that you have to talk to Bull. He has an idea he wants to pitch you. That was literally what I said to her.
And she told Anthony no? What did he just say?
He said that Stephanie, who's organized this, is Mike Polk's girlfriend.
I know that. I know she is.
You do, but these people out here.
Okay, yeah.
I know.
No, not you. The great people watching UCSS who are here.
I keep forgetting there's other people watching. It's not just us.
Discuss the Donovan extension.
Yes.
But Anthony talked to Stephanie Haney, who's a reporter at KYC, who's also Mike Polk's girlfriend, at the Emmys, and apparently she said it cannot be UCSS versus WKYC.
Boo.
But I will make sure you guys are in email contact.
Yeah, we should. I guess I could have asked Mike Polk for that as well. But anyway, a lot to get to today. Later, we grade the Guardians at the halfway point of the season. And were the Cavs disrespected? A G. Bush headline special.
With the Browns.
What did I say?
The Cavs.
Oh, I'm in Cavs mode. With the Browns disrespected by Pete Prisco's article. Everybody hates Pete Prisco, but he writes good articles sometimes. So we'll get into all of that. How you guys doing? I got to tell you, Jason and Earl are a lack of energy before this. I expect the two of you both to pick it up.
I'm allowed to be
Earl hasn't made
energy.
Earl hasn't. I don't know what's going on with Earl. I don't know what's going on with you. You're yawning before the show. Earl hasn't said a word in a half an hour. I don't know what's happening. So you two better pick it up. Let's see some freaking energy here.
At 10:59, I'm allowed to yawn.
No.
Yes.
No yawning. No yawning.
It's been a busy morning. It's been a lot going on this morning.
Well, you've actually had to move your kids around?
Yes.
I mean, you're a dad. That's your
I
job.
was playing Uber driver. I was taking him. I was taking her. Came back for him. Had to come here. By the way, Donovan signed. I'd have a story done.
I know Zach and I are about to do the Guardian show at 9:30, and Zach's like, we got breaking Cavs news. I'm like, oh, really? I didn't see it yet. Donovan Mitchell. Earl!
What's up, man?
Are you excited?
I am. I'm very excited. I never thought he was leaving. I'm on record. I never thought he was leaving. Mike can tell you that. He's on record.
By the way, I don't want to. All the people that knew he was never going to leave, you're full of it. You knew nothing, and good. It's good that he's not leaving.
Take the win, Earl.
Take the win, Earl.
Oh no, I
take
am.
Your victory
I am.
lap.
I'm bashing every national media pundit today. I'm taking that victory lap today because not often in the city of Cleveland do we get an opportunity to do this. But I knew nothing. I just in my mind, and I remember sitting here telling Jason, I said, like, I get it. Jason talks to a lot of people. Never trying to discredit my boy, but internally, I never thought he was leaving.
And Mike made a point off the air that the biggest thing that may have played a role was that Jalen Brunson became a superstar.
Yeah.
And that he wasn't – and because the team that Donovan wanted to go to was the Knicks, and the Knicks are not a fit for him anymore. So there wasn't another team that made sense.
The Knicks chose not – the Knicks didn't choose him.
Yes.
They didn't choose him. And when they made their all-in move for OG Anunoby and they didn't have any trade pieces.
Right.
And you're right. The emergence of Brunson and whatever else, and there was nowhere else in the landscape. There was nowhere else for him to go that was going to give him a chance to win like he can here. And, then Brooklyn came up. I heard Brooklyn throughout the year, and then I talked to other people he ain't going to Brooklyn.
No.
And now you see what happened to Brooklyn. They completely imploded.
Yeah.
And they're starting a total rebuild. But and we can get into the reasons, and we will. But, let's take 1 second. This is really significant for the Cavs.
And we're going to talk about how historic it is for the Cavs. But first, Mike, tell us this.
Yeah, I wonder what the odds would have been on FanDuel to begin last season, like 1 year ago today, that Donovan Mitchell would sign an extension. I bet you could have found it on FanDuel because you could find everything on FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. You guys know I love sports. I love them so much. I never want them to stop, but as the playoffs wind down, we get fewer and fewer games, and the sports aren't sportsing like I want them to, but FanDuel lets me keep the sports going whenever I want. All I have to do is open the app, dream up bets anytime I'm in the mood, and this summer, FanDuel is hooking up all customers with a boost or a bonus daily. That's right, there's something for everyone, every day, all summer long. So head over to FanDuel.com/UCSS and start making the most out of your summer. FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of Major League Baseball and the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show. And if you've been living under a rock, if you missed us start the show with the news, Donovan Mitchell did sign a 3-year extension worth up to $150.3 million. The last year of that is a player option, so essentially he's locked in for sure for this season, for next season, and then 2026, 2027. He has the player option in 2027, 2028. But as Jason was saying before we did a read, this is a monumental moment in Cleveland sports history.
And by the way, we should really just look at it as a 2-year contract, because the only way Donovan Mitchell picks up that option is if he had it's a bad thing for the Cavs if he picks up that option,
right?
Because that means he had a devastating injury or some reason that he wouldn't want to sign a new, couldn't get a new contract.
But it's 2 on top of the 1 he already had,
right?
So it's 3. It's 3 guaranteed.
That's true.
Years of team control.
And that's right. He's still got next year,
still
and
has
then the
next
2.
Year, next year still on his old deal.
Okay.
And then the 2 new years.
So so it is 3 years. So
they
really have him for 3 real years going forward, which is huge,
massive. And it's a win for and I'll even dial this back. And this is going to sound silly, but I'll even dial it back to Max Strus, because when they signed Strus, I thought that was significant. This is an organization that has struggled to attract free agents forever.
Yeah.
So, and Strus is not a headlining name, of course, by any means, but he was a big name in that free agent class. He was one of the biggest names in that class, and they got him to come here. And then on top of that, I've said it before with Donovan, like, he didn't choose to come here. He was sent here. But you convinced him over 2 years that this is his best chance to win and this is his place to be. Like, he's got his money, and now he's got even more money. Donovan needs to win, and that's what's important to him right now. And when you look across the landscape, when you take the Knicks out of the equation, you take home out of the equation, you see what a tire fire the Nets are right now. Where else was he going to go that was going to afford him a chance to win like this? It was Cleveland. And when you put on top of that the amount of money that he, like, how many times do we say it? He's got $200 million, a team knocking on the door. Here's $200 million. Open the door and take the money. Well, that's what he did. So it's felt to turn, at least from our vantage point, around the Boston series. Once they won that first round series, once they showed growth, all the momentum seemed to swing toward Donovan was going to stay here.
No superstar outside of LeBron who's from here has ever really chosen the Cavs. Right?
No.
Kyrie wanted to leave the first chance he got.
I mean, the rumors about Kyrie leaving were way earlier than people realize. And so, he left. I mean, LeBron left twice.
Yeah.
Especially with that organization. It's been, and the others as well. I mean, the Indians had a run in the 90s where they were able to land some talent. But by and large, Cleveland, and all 3 teams know it, Cleveland has struggled to attract free agents.
And basketball is the hardest, because basketball
is the winter months.
More than any other sport, the players care about what town they're playing in.
And you're here in December, January, and February, which is the worst time to be in Cleveland.
I can remember, and correct me if I'm wrong, but back in the day, he was like a B-level superstar. But the only guy that I remember actually signing here as a free agent back then was Larry Hughes. And we seen how that worked out, right?
Yeah.
Back to the Donovan thing, and Jason, I need your help. Let me know. I think there's a couple different layers to this. First is the financial side of things. He lost money once he was traded from Utah. He lost more money when he wasn't named to the All-NBA first team. So financially, I think it made sense for him to stay in Cleveland. It's still about getting the bag at the end of the day. And then I also think that there's, in my opinion, I think the city grows on people. Hence, this man sitting right here. Native New Yorker. Now he's in Clevelander. He loves the city.
Cleveland.
He loves the city of Cleveland. He's decided to put down some roots here, grow his family. And when you hear Donovan Mitchell talk, he says it all the time. I love the city of Cleveland. I enjoy being here. Jason asked him in his first press conference about the weather and things like this. He says, I'm a man that likes to dress, so the fall is right up my alley. To me, the few times I was able to be around him, I think energy says a lot. and how he just interacted with people, interacted with the fans, how he took care of his business as a professional, I think it went a long way. Internally, knew nothing. I just had a gut feeling he was going to stay here. And I think that's big for the city of Cleveland. It's big for the Cavaliers organization because not many people chooses us, right? He had the opportunity to go anywhere he wanted once he became a free agent. No, he didn't choose to get traded here, but once he got here, it grew on him. I'm happy that he's here. He seems to be a guy that wants to, grow his career, win a championship, possibly finish his career here. Like, this is a dub in every sense of the word for the city of Cleveland and the Cavaliers.
I mean, the Cavs, even when LeBron was here, Jason, always had trouble
Yeah.
attracting guys.
Yeah.
With the best player in the league, there were still guys who were like, nah, I'm good. And so, this is awesome. It's great for the organization. And as critical as I've been of Koby Altman, I got to give him some level of credit. The organization, for all its flaws at times, and again, Kobe's a middle-of-the-road GM, probably. I feel the same way about NBA GMs as I do about NFL GMs and coaches, whatever. You got a couple who are great, a couple who suck, and then everybody else is kind of somewhere in the middle. And Kobe's somewhere in the middle, in my opinion, which is fine. At least they don't have a guy who sucks. But I give him credit. Like, he has been a big part of making this organization not look like a joke.
Yeah, and he's
Right?
one that, like, Kobe's one of the ones that's pushed back on, like, trying to get people to stay here.
That's true.
And being more positive and building something here. And I will give him a ton of credit because this trade was a massive gamble. A massive gamble.
Oh, yeah.
They traded 5 years of control of their own draft for a guy that they weren't sure they were going to have beyond 2 years. And they had 2 years to sell Donovan on it. And if they had Donovan told him, I'm not staying, they had to turn around and trade him. Now they would have recouped. You could get a return for him.
Right, sure.
But you just lost 5 years of control of your draft for a guy who's not even on the roster.
Right.
So the gamble that they took when they made this trade was massive, and it's a home run. Like, him signing today means the Cavs won the trade.
Yeah.
They won the trade.
No
Now,
doubt.
you talk and win it as well. It can be a win-win.
Sure, yeah.
But from the Cavs' vantage point, they needed a star. They got a star. He fit perfectly age-wise with their timeline. He fit with what they needed. And now you got 2 years out of him already. He signed for 3 more. We can get in. We don't have to. Today's a day to celebrate him signing it.
Yeah.
We don't have to get in the logistics of what the 3 years actually means. We can
Right.
do that another time. But you've got him now locked up long term. You don't have to trade him this summer. It is a home run for the Cavs. It's a massive win for this organization.
Go ahead, Mike.
On a deal that at times looked like it could sink them, and
No
it
doubt.
turned out to be a grand
Big win,
slam.
yeah.
This is absolutely a day of celebration because to get Donovan to put pen to paper on an extension like this, and I tweeted this out yesterday, Jason, when you mentioned you and I were talking, and you said it might be a 2-1, however it panned out. Mm-hmm. It's a win-win for everybody in this situation. I just want to lay this out, and I mean this in the most sincere, genuine way, that it's a win-win for both the Cavs and Donovan. From Donovan's standpoint, he does the 2+1 so he could enter 2027, 2028 as a free agent by declining the team option, because that'll be his 10th year in the league, and he could end up getting a giant 35% of the max instead of just 30%, which you can't sign, till you get your 10th service year.
We got to have that extra 5%.
It's a lot of money.
It's $50 million
Hey,
now,
listen.
and it'll be even more as a salary cap
I
goes up.
can't survive on $300 million. I must have $350.
Hey, I want all these guys to get as much money as they can. So
I
from Donovan's
do too, but
from Donovan's standpoint, it
either
makes
way, it's
perfect
the
sense.
bag. But go
And
ahead.
also,
yeah.
from the Cavs standpoint, there is now a concrete timeline for when we have Donovan for at least, and I say at least because he could certainly re-sign, and that max deal he gets to in 2027, 2028 could certainly be with Cleveland. We have 3 years now to put a championship team together. There's no more time to play this slowly or to not be aggressive or to not make sure we are maximizing the talent on this roster, however they feel the best way to do that is. So now there's a defined timeline with a defined star and not an end goal, because it's not 2027, 2028, Donovan's gone. That's not what I'm saying.
We got it.
But you know exactly when you have to push your chips into the table and figure out how can we get the most out of this roster, this coach, this organization.
I don't know.
And it's no longer up in the air of, well, can we go all in because we don't know if he's going to be here. You know he's going to be here for the next 2-3 years.
Yeah. Now, I don't know what kind of chips they have to push into the table to get
That's
better.
a different discussion. I'm
Yeah.
just saying you now have a defined timeline of when you have to.
And that's
can
great.
be aggressive.
And now they got to find a way to get better, and whether that's by trading Jarrett Allen or not, or just improving the roster beyond that. The next thing is what's happening with Evan Mobley. Jason, why are we not hearing about an Evan Mobley extension? Because that still factors into their ability to spend on the mid-level exception, right?
Evan's going to sign a max deal. But he's under contract for next year. So this is on the Donovan timeline.
Okay.
This is 2 years out.
So do we know how much they have to spend on the mid-level exemption after Donovan signed, or is it still up in the air because of the Mobley situation? Or no?
I'd have to crunch the numbers, but it's more of what happens with Okoro.
If there's a difference in a tax paying and a non-tax paying in terms of what your mid-level is to spend.
Why are we assuming that he won't be? I mean, Dan Gilbert has billions and billions of dollars. Why would a few $1 million stop him from spending?
What are you asking about, Okoro?
No, I don't. I mean, I don't care. I don't care about Okoro.
Well, here's the thing.
Yeah.
Dan will spend.
Yeah.
But it's about when you start the clock on the repeat offender, because that is valid. Like, even the Warriors are now flinching. And the way
why? It's stupid. They all have the money.
The Warriors 2 years ago.
Yeah.
And I don't remember the exact. This may be off, but the Warriors were over the tax 2 years in a row, and they put this in here to stop teams from doing that. It may be more than two.
Yeah.
For every $1 you spend over whatever the threshold is, Jason, it's either 7 or 9 that you spend.
Yeah, I don't care. They're all multi-billionaires. Who cares?
But you're not.
Yeah.
Nobody's going to do it. Like, even Joe Lacob said,
I know.
Enough is enough.
I get what you're saying. I'm saying they should because they have the money.
Well, they're not going
whatever.
to. They're not.
If I was the NBA players, I would strike and get rid of the salary cap. They could do it if they had. That's the one union that could do it, but they won't
never do it.
They won't, but they could.
No, they couldn't.
You don't think they could?
No. They would run out of money. The owners always have more money. The owners will
but in
always
the NBA,
win.
it's not like the NFL where there's a lot of guys who don't make any money.
It doesn't matter. The owners always have more money. Like, we've seen it time and time again.
We've seen players win holdouts in baseball.
But not to...
Anyway, for another time for another day. I don't want to take us down that road, but go ahead.
So a lot of national guys basically all wrote Donovan Mitchell tickets out of Cleveland.
Yeah, I mean,
right?
listen,
Which
back
made
it up.
sense.
I was the first one to write it. Like, I'm not going to run for it. I was the first one to write
Kendrick Perkins.
New York is a
He
problem.
said, I'm going to keep it 100 with you. He played his last game.
Yeah.
I seen Donovan Mitchell's Instagram story before I came down here, and he was just like, I said it over and over again. I like it here. People chose not to believe it.
Yeah.
Like, how did we get so far from everybody saying, Ashley, I'm out of here, to, I heard him today, and he just sounds so sincere. We often, don't like to take what players say for face value.
Because they often don't tell the truth.
But this dude never really, to me, Jason, tell me if I'm wrong, he never really put much out there that signals that he didn't want to be here.
Donovan is a PR master. And he's really, really good at it. So, no, there was nothing ever front-facing that made you say he wanted to leave. Mm-hmm. And, everyone who said he wanted to stay, Donovan, everybody could take the victory lap today. You were right. Run with it. Where it came from, I can only speak to me, where it came from is when I start talking to other teams when he's been here a couple months and they're like, it's already starting that Donovan wants to go to New York. And teams and agents talk, like agents represent 50 players across every team.
Rich Paul has 100 clients over all 30 NBA teams.
So when agents in the NBA, and obviously I've been around the NBA more than baseball and football. But the NBA, it feels to me, now that I've had a little bit of time around baseball and football, the NBA is the biggest gossip machine of all of them. The NBA is Desperate Housewives. Of all the housewives sit at the end of the driveway and drink their talk, and they all just, and everybody talks. More so than any other sport. And it happens in the other sports, but not to the extent that it does in the NBA. So when you start hearing this stuff, you start checking around, and everybody is saying this. And I went to the Cavs and talked to people in the Cavs and said, I'm not writing this right now, but this is out there. He wants to be in New York. And the pushback wasn't, that's ridiculous. The pushback was, we knew the risks when we made the trade. Mm-hmm. What does that tell you? Yes, it's real, but they said, screw it. We've got 2 years to convince him otherwise. And they did that. And so it's a win to them. It is a good team. It does give him a chance to win. And when New York sort of pulled itself off the table And you look around the league and you say, where else is he going to go that's going to give him a better opportunity to win right now? And that's why it just, once they won that playoff series, once they beat Orlando, and I talked about it at the time, and you can poo-poo it and say that they threw a game to that, but this is why, because you can show incremental growth year over year over year. First round team last year, second round team this year.
Right.
Momentum building in the right direction. That's why they did what they did. And it all paid off. They won a series. Donovan re-signs, and we made very clear things he didn't like with the organization, and one of them being JB. Yeah. But JB's gone. Donovan has equity now in this franchise. He has a seat at the table by signing this extension, and even prior to that. That's okay. He should have a seat at the table. Like he's
which he wouldn't have necessarily if he went somewhere else.
Well, it depends on the team.
Depends on the team.
Depends on where he went. And I'm sure that's appealing to him.
Yeah,
you know,
sure.
when you have say in the matter, and when,
absolutely,
and when you have a type of juice now in this organization that he has, that's a selling point. And is he a top 3 to 5 player in the league? No, he's not. But he's a really, really good NBA player. He can be a viable piece to winning the championship. He can be an important piece to winning.
Mike?
Well, first off, I was just texting Jason to say that was a great answer. We're going to make a short out of that. So, Jason, ignore the text that you're about to get in 1 sec.
Oh.
Jason nailed it, though. When you talk to enough people, and Jason's way more connected than I am, I'm not going to pretend I'm not. That's what you heard. And it's not us saying this is what's going to happen. It's just, hey, this is what we're hearing. And to Jason's point, and once again, you could laugh at the fact that it's winning Orlando. What does that really accomplish? It shows tangible, grabbable,
they've gotten better
in front of your
year.
face that they have taken a step forward. And is that enough to satisfy everybody? No, it's not. And at the end of the day, the end goal should not be with Donovan Mitchell as your best player to make the second round of the playoffs. But it is something you can legitimately grab onto. And once again, the reports of him and JB not getting along, they made a change of coach. You can choose who you want to believe there. We'll see what they do with some of the roster moves to appease Donovan if he thinks they could upgrade at certain positions or whatnot. But just like Kawhi Leonard, when there was the material change when he was leaving Toronto, how he ended up in Los Angeles, like these things change on a pretty regular basis. And the Cavs, over the course of the last 2 seasons, proved to Donovan that this is a situation he can flourish not only as a basketball player, but as a winner, hopefully. And he must believe in what Koby and Kenny have in terms of planning for the future of the organization. And Woj was on SportsCenter this morning, and I wanted to ask you guys about this.
I find Woj so annoying.
Jason doesn't really Jason's not the biggest fan either. But
even his tweets annoy me because he's always got to mention the agency.
What?
And he's always got to mention. Like,
nobody
reason why. Cares.
There's a reason why. But my point with
I
Woj,
know, but nobody cares.
and I'm very curious, Earl, Jason, Bull, what you guys think of this. He said that, and this is Woj on SportsCenter or Get Up this morning, said this deal was agreed upon on Saturday, and they announced it this morning, and obviously that means they held off on it for at least half of Saturday, Sunday, and all of yesterday. I'm assuming to give Kenny Atkinson a complete runway, essentially, for his press conference yesterday. Does it make any sense to you guys why they'd hold it off that long?
I don't know. Does it matter?
No, I'm just asking. It doesn't matter. I'm just asking.
No, I think you're right. I think they wanted to get Atkinson.
Yeah, I'm sure you're right. Yeah.
They did a nice job of keeping. I mean, obviously, I work closely with Shams, who's one of the best newsbreakers in the country, and Shams was on it. We knew it was close, but for them to keep a lid on it for 2 days like that is impressive from their end. But it did take longer. The whole thing took longer than I thought it would, and I think they just wanted to get the coach announcement out of the way from. But I don't know. I don't have a good answer for why it took so long to get the Donovan thing done because I think they can say they agreed to it on Saturday. I don't think it was much of a negotiation. It was Donovan telling them, this is what I want to do, and them saying okay.
Yeah.
I don't know if there's really much negotiating going on. But we wrote it after the Boston series, and again, I felt it swing during that Boston series. They may have known internally prior to that. But it became apparent to me, us reporters following this, me, Joe, Shams at The Athletic, during the Boston series is when all indications were really at that point he was coming back.
Mike?
I have one last thing on Mitchell, then we'll move over to some Atkinson stuff, and then we'll get to guards and Browns. But in terms of the significance of Donovan putting ink to paper in this extension and really being the biggest Cavalier signing since LeBron came back and all that, Does this open the door for future players of Donovan's caliber? Not Strus. I know we talked about Strus being a big-time free agent acquisition last year, but bigger names and stars. Maybe not the superstars, but Donovan-level stars and above. Does this open the door for more opportunities, you think, for those players to look at Cleveland as a potential destination, whether it's free agency, trade, whatnot?
I think in terms of trades is the better way for the Cavs, because then it gives a chance for the player to see the positives of Cleveland and the organization if it's still in the good position that is in now. Because, for whatever reason, people that haven't been in Cleveland have this like, oh, Cleveland, which is, I don't know why that started or where that started from, but it still remains out there. And so if you trade for a superstar, he gets a chance to learn. And not everybody's going to take to the, like, one of the things to me that's so great about Cleveland compared to most big cities in America is the ease of getting around.
Yeah.
That is a major selling point for me and my family coming from the New York area where it's impossible to get around. That is one of the things I love so much about living here. But some people don't care about that. I don't know. So there's things that different people care about. But yeah, I think the fact that a player as good as Donovan Mitchell said, yes, I choose to stay in Cleveland, even if you think there are other reasons why that have nothing to do with Cleveland, I still think it's a positive going forward, potentially. What do you guys think?
Literally could do an hour on this.
Yeah.
I'm serious, because you threw out like 3 things that we could talk about for an hour. Number one, does this open door for other people to come to Cleveland? Well, if you're talking about, if you want to be like technical and live in reality, no, because of where they're at on the cap.
Oh, you didn't mean like right now.
No,
this minute.
in general.
Just in
Okay,
general.
all right.
Yeah.
All right, so let's throw that part out.
Right. Okay.
In general, it's interesting because I'm a middle-aged white dude, right? I've lived here my whole life. I am what I am. Yeah. I'm curious to hear from although Earl's from here too, but because we're talking about 2 different things. When you're talking about young black men in their mid-20s who are millionaires, they're looking for different things in life than I am.
That's right. They don't care about the traffic.
But I will say, Dave McMenamin, a real good friend of mine, came here from Los Angeles, moved from L.A. to Cleveland, and was like, I don't know if I'm, like, when LeBron came back, I don't know what I'm doing. Like, Cleveland, I'm not sure.
Yeah.
Didn't know a soul when he got here. And Dave will tell you, he absolutely loved his time here.
Yeah.
He has a soft spot for Cleveland now. He loves coming back. And Mike's the same way. Mike was a guy in his young 20s, young white guy in his mid-20s, early in his career, dropped into a city he knew no one, and Mike loves it now. But
I wasn't excited to move. When I first moved here, I wasn't excited about Cleveland.
And
I was when I moved, but when I first learned about the job 6 months earlier, I wasn't. I've said that before.
Yeah.
Because I didn't know it.
You didn't know.
Yeah.
And there have been plenty of executives and coaches who have come here, who have been fired, who stayed.
Yeah, absolutely.
Who their families are still here because they love the area. The wives love it.
Doesn't Ken Dorsey still live here? Or he did for a while, I think.
Ken Dorsey? He's the OC.
Not Ken Dorsey. John Dorsey.
John, I think he is.
I think he does.
I think Mike Pettin's back. Mike Longobardi's family is still here. The old Cavs assistant. Mike's been to 2 or 3 different jobs.
Yeah.
His family still lives here. Like they love the area and they stay.
Yeah.
But I wonder, I'm speaking from a old white dude perspective.
Yeah.
As young black millionaires, do they find the city appealing? Because that's where I think that's who, when we're having this conversation, that's who you're trying to appeal to.
Right.
You're appealing to guys who are the most gifted athletic people on the planet, who can do things nobody else can do,
and they have money to burn.
And they have money to burn.
Yeah.
And they see Vegas, New York, LA, Miami,
Atlanta even.
Atlanta's big.
Yeah.
And then they're like, Cleveland.
And that's what I was about to say. I think if you're a person that's really like into the nightlife, then you look at Cleveland from afar and say, hell no, there's absolutely nothing for me to do in Cleveland. But if you're a person that has a different personality, if you enjoy art, if you enjoy nature and things like that, Cleveland got so many different museums that you can go visit for free more often than not. If you want to, I don't know, like if you're a person that loves food, you won't find another city that has like better selections of restaurants to go sit down and eat at.
That's not
and
really
then
true,
I think,
but-
then I think when it
Cleveland's
comes to
food scene's tremendous.
tell them again, Jason. But then
It's
I think
tremendous.
Listen,
Another
I love
part of that-
Cleveland
Hey,
food.
let Earl finish his point.
like,
Go ahead,
I
sorry.
think another part of that is just if you are an athlete and you know how like you got guys who this is a business and then you got other guys who really like are passionate about this, you won't find too many other cities better than the city of Cleveland to come play in. And I think when people get here and they get an opportunity to learn this city, they fall in love with it. Now, to Mike's question, it depends on that athlete and his personality. Donovan Mitchell comes off as a real chill dude, that he don't need all the glitz, the glamour, and he's not really into all that. So Cleveland might fit perfect for him. But if you like a turn-up monster and you want to be in the club every night and you're trying to blow money on this, that, and the third, then Cleveland might not be your city. But to me, our city is a city on the rise. You got legalized marijuana. You got legalized gambling. Every time you step downtown, they're doing something to improve the scenery of downtown. You got the movie scene back jumping here. Like we said, the food is great no matter what Bull talking about.
No, wait a
it
second.
is so much going on in this city that you would want to be here.
Let me
There's
clarify.
more food than just pizza.
Let me clarify.
Thank you.
New York, Cleveland's got a very good food scene. I'm not saying it doesn't. It's just it's not better than other cities
New York
necessarily.
New York and
I mean,
Chicago
come on,
are terrific too, but per capita, for what Cleveland has to work with, I think the restaurant scene here is sensational.
It depends on the type of food. There's almost no good Asian food. There's no good Asian food scene really. There's not. If you think there is, you don't know. There's no good Latin food scene.
Oh, I disagree.
No, you're wrong, unfortunately. I wish there was. American food, steaks and burgers and
That's
stuff
what
like
we
that. That beautiful food scene. And overall, Cleveland's got a good representative food scene.
Yes.
I'm not saying it's bad. We don't need to get carried away about it being better than some other cities. But
That's not carried away.
You're probably right in terms of the eclecticness of it.
Yeah.
But what is here is
it's
top-notch.
fantastic. There's a lot of great restaurants. It's a great city. I have nothing bad to say about Cleveland whatsoever. I grew up in the biggest city in the country. I love New York. I never imagined wanting to move out of New York. As a kid, if you would have told me if you told me at 15 I'd be living in Cleveland, Ohio, I would have said, you are out of your mind. There is no chance on the face of the earth I'm living in Cleveland, Ohio, and I would never move back to New York. I don't really miss much about it, even though it's great and I loved it and I still love it in certain ways. But there's very little, if anything, I miss about it. And there are a lot of great things. I think you're right, Earl. If you're a party animal guy, yes, there are other cities that offer you more options to party. And, we're not going to compare with New York and Chicago and L.A. and Miami in terms of the party scene.
Of course.
But Donovan Mitchell does seem like, we don't know him personally, he does seem like a more chill guy that's probably not out partying every night. And if you're that type of person, maybe he does care about the lack of traffic here. And you don't have to pay taxes like in New York. Now, Florida's got no taxes. They got no school system also. Their school system is absolute trash. Our school system is decent, and our taxes aren't crazy.
And he also came from Utah. So
yeah, right.
It's not like he went from New York.
And he played in
Cleveland.
Louisville.
Yeah, exactly.
I can't imagine being a black kid in
Utah.
Utah.
He's spoken about it.
Yeah.
When he first got
I
it,
mean,
he spoke about it.
to like what Bull said, I'm the total opposite. I remember when I went to Ohio Media School to pursue all this, and a lot of people there told me if you want to work mainstream media, you will have to get started elsewhere, and that work in mainstream in Cleveland was like totally unlikely. I'm not saying I'm trying to box my career in, but man, I'm from this city. I'm from the inner city. To be like black from the inner city and say I talk mainstream sports in my city, like that's dope because I love my city. Right now it's the best time to be a part of what's going on. The Guardians are good, the Cavs are good, the Browns are good. And there's so many other things that's coming and going in and out of the city of Cleveland on a regular basis. Like I think we're lucky and blessed to be doing what we're doing right now in this city. I just think, like, as you said, this was a huge win for the Cavaliers organization, for the city of Cleveland. LeBron got Northeast Ohio ties, right? That's different. This dude was traded here. There was a lot of going on saying like he don't want to be here. He's up out of here. And he could have actually let this thing play out or went to the ownership and said, hey, I'm not re-signing anything. So whether it be the organization, the city itself, or a combination of both, I'm just glad it worked out for us.
Absolutely. Go ahead, Mike.
We're going to talk a little Kenny Atkinson here and his plans for some future Cavs, and we'll get back to whether or not this opens the door for future players. We're going to have all summer to get into that, and we'll see what happens with some other signings. But this next interview is brought to us by BetterHelp. Sometimes we all need the opportunity to get something off our chest, big or small. Certain things can really start to get to you, and it's important to let that out, especially to someone who's unbiased on your life. after speaking to Kenny Atkinson yesterday, I got thrilled for his future plans for the core four, especially Evan Mobley, and I needed someone to talk to about it. So I was like, it can't be my mom, it can't be my dad, it can't be Earl or Aunt because they're going to see it on the show. I'm going to talk to my therapist and see if I'm maybe over-exaggerating how excited I am to see what he can do with these Cleveland Cavaliers players as they move forward. Therapy can be different for everyone. It does not just have a negative connotation, and most of us have bigger problems than our favorite sports teams, and it's important to get these things off our chest every once in a while. So if you've been thinking about starting therapy, give BetterHelp a try. It's entirely online, designed to be flexible and suited to your schedule. Visit BetterHelp.com/lockedon to get 10% off your first month. That is BetterHelp, HELP.com/lockedon. So Kenny Atkinson was officially introduced as the Cavaliers head coach yesterday. He held a traditional press conference where members of the written media, Jason, Chris Fedor, all the written outlets, had a chance to ask questions. And then afterwards, he sat down with a couple of the local TV outlets and the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show for an exclusive one-on-one interview. We're going to play that in 1 second and talk about some big-picture takeaways from Kenny Atkinson's opening presser. But with our one-on-one with Kenny, and we're on first-name basis now, by the way, me and Kenny.
Good.
I wanted to ask questions that he wasn't already asked in the presser. So the obvious, what's going to happen with Donovan, and can he play with he answered that in his regular presser. So these were questions he hadn't been addressed, and I got some good stuff. So let's take a listen to my one-on-one with Kenny Atkinson. Then we'll talk about what he said to me and to everybody with our big takeaways from yesterday. And play it with you. Thrilled to be joined now by the Cavs' new head coach, Kenny Atkinson. Kenny, thank you for taking some time to join the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show. You mentioned earlier during your intro press conference the different ways you hope to utilize Evan Mobley and his development as an offensive player. And I couldn't help but put two and two together listening to you that you maybe wanted utilizing him like the Warriors utilized Draymond Green. Am I looking too much into that, how you want to use him offensively?
You're not too far off.
Okay.
I think that's very fair. I think you make that comparison. You're never going to – it's not going to be one for one. We're not going to copy, kind of what Draymond's his own unique. But I actually talked to Draymond after I got the job, and the first thing he talked about was Evan and how much he liked him and thought he could really. And when Draymond talks, you listen, as a coach, and that guy's got the best IQ I've ever seen. So, yeah, I definitely want to incorporate some of the Draymond stuff with Evan, but that also goes with JA too, right? Because I do have experience, with Steve and the Warriors. We're playing two bigs together, so that was definitely part of my spiel, right? Like when I came for the job, I feel comfortable in that environment. And I didn't used to be that way. Okay. In Brooklyn, it was Mike D'Antoni spread pick and roll, JA rolling, D'Angelo handling, Carrasco handling, and just complete spread out, shoot a ton of three. This is different, and so I don't think if I had that, if I didn't have that Warriors experience, I'm not sure. I'm not sure like how ready I'd be to attack that.
The evolution of a coach mirrors the evolution of a game, and I know when you were with Brooklyn, you turned Brook Lopez into a three-point shooter, or at least started that trajectory. Quincy Acey doesn't get mentioned in the same round as Al Horford and Brook Lopez do. When you looked at those big guys when you first got around them, what attributes did you see in their games that made you think, hey, maybe these guys can shoot more threes? And I know you just got here, but do you see some of those attributes in Jarrett and Evan?
Yes, and I think when it comes to the shooting piece, you have to have there's analytics, right? Like you got is there evidence that this guy can be a three-point shooter? I know with Al Horford, I did a deep dive into his mid-range shooting, free throw shooting is actually connected to three-point shooting. There's a correlation between the two. So Evan definitely there's good. He's definitely trending in the right way. JA, we're gonna have to keep deep diving on that. Am I close to that idea? No. Am I open to it? Yeah, because that's how you can make the next jump. But I definitely think that's going to be part of the growth. And am I going to say Evan's going to shoot 9 threes like Brook did? I told Brook, hey, I'd love you to shoot more threes, and all of a sudden he goes from 0 to 9 a game or whatever.
I don't think you ever could have saw that coming, right?
Yeah, but he embraced it. So, but Evan's got so many other, he's a great driver. He can post up. He's got a lot of things. So, but we're going to take some. I think development, you have to take risks. to get guys to the next level, you got to take some risks, and I'm willing to do that, even if the short term doesn't look great.
Without getting too specific, I know
Yeah.
you're coaching the French national team in the upcoming Olympics.
Yeah.
How much from that international experience and international offensive basketball do you think will end up translating into what you eventually make the Cavs playbook?
I don't think people realize the influence the international game has on the NBA right now, and the explosion of offensive efficiency. To me, it's correlated because there's a new wave of coaches coming in. It's a much more we keep an eye on the international game, and there's a lot of concepts, a lot of ideas, and they're evolving. We run a set in France that I'm like, with Team France, I'm like, I'm taking this. Like I'd never seen it before. And you think you've seen everything, but it's just it's a different game. They know how to manipulate space probably better than us because there's no defensive reset. So they have to be so precise with their spacing, and so I'm going to come back from this experience, this Olympic experience with Team France as a better coach, and that's why I'm doing it. For really, I mean, obviously first to help Team France and win a gold medal and all that, but the second part of it is I know I'm going to come back a better coach.
We got two more for you,
Yes.
Coach. When you talk to the players, I know it's just introductory conversations, not too much of deep dives, but how excited are they to get incorporated into what a Kenny Atkinson offense is going to look like?
Yeah, I think, that's the first, the feedback I get, like, let's go, maybe with some expletives in there, like
I hope they're excited, yeah.
Yeah, like these guys, and listen, I'm pretty sure my reputation as a collaborator with players, right? Like I will, Max Strus is going to have some, the back screen slip outs that Spo did, and Donovan's got the, great stuff from Utah, and Quinn, can we do all of it? No, but there's going to be elements that they bring to the table, their experiences, and I'm gonna lean on them. I'm gonna collaborate with them. So, and hopefully in the end it comes out, man, we're knocking at the door, getting into the top 10 in offensive efficiency.
And last but not least, when you were in Brooklyn, the Cavs had made a trade for Kyrie Irving, and they acquired a Brooklyn pick from Boston that was directly tied to hoping Brooklyn would tank.
Yeah.
And that didn't necessarily pan out.
Yeah.
Did you and Koby ever talk about that during the interview process, that you guys screwed up some of their plans?
We did not, but I'm going to talk to him after. I'm going to remind him, and that was great. And, what was great about the directive was never, because we didn't have any picks, the directive was like, compete.
At all costs, might as well.
Compete. I've always, the proudest kind of part about the Brooklyn experience was just getting feedback from media and coaches, like, man, you guys compete, like you compete hard, and take that part too to Cleveland, right? Like, this is a competitive team, but can we compete even harder? Can we compete more consistently and for longer periods than they've done in the past? That's kind of the challenge.
Awesome. That's Kenny Atkinson, the new head coach of the Cleveland Cavaliers.
Thanks
Kenny,
so
appreciate
much,
it,
man.
and best of luck
Awesome.
here in Cleveland.
All right.
See you around.
Appreciate you.
Awesome.
There you go. That's Kenny Atkinson with Mike. Good job, Mike. He seemed very. Oh, I forgot to turn.
I told
you.
you.
You warned me.
Did you have to turn it up?
Yo,
We had to turn it up.
Turn it up because I can barely hear
I
it.
said this to him upstairs, not to cut you
Yeah.
off, but I said this to him upstairs, and I'm saying it publicly now. And to see this dude grow to what he has grown, to see his career blossom right here in the city of Cleveland, to see Mike gain
You're
the
talking about Kenny
respect,
Atkinson.
and just to make himself a staple in this city as somebody that's knowledgeable about the game of basketball, a go-to guy, a name that's in everybody's household. Shout out to you, brother. You've earned everything that you've gotten so far.
Let me
Keep
tell you
at it.
something. I've done this for 25 years. Mike could be a national NBA reporter.
He really can.
At The Athletic
definitely, yeah.
He really
or
can.
ESPN or a place like that.
He'd ask a lot
If
better
he-
questions than all these sideline reporters ask.
He
And this
could.
is about Kenny. I appreciate that. This is about Kenny Atkinson.
Yeah, all
let's
right.
not make
We
this
showed
make
enough
this
love
about
to
me.
Mike. It's enough.
No.
You got-
I
Nope.
appreciate it. I really do. But
He knows we love him, and he knows
Yeah.
we respect him, and everybody. That's why I want yesterday when he was going to not be here for the show. It's like, you got to be here because we need to pick your brain about the first 45 minutes.
I just think it's important, Mike, that people understand, man, how hard you work, and this stuff just don't happen overnight.
Yeah.
You know
no,
what I
no,
mean?
no.
So,
And it was good that Mike was able to go there
Yeah.
and get this interview, and he did a good job. And he was very comfortable with you, which is a key to an interview in that situation, especially when you don't have a long time. You only have a couple of minutes to get the guy comfortable with you right away, and clearly he was. So that was great. In terms of what he said, I mean, I like his openness. He was very forthcoming with the information. Not that he's giving you trade secrets here, but he seemed to really enjoy talking ball with Mike. You know what I mean? Like, he seems like a guy that loves talking ball.
Well,
which is good. I like that kind of coach.
But that's going to come across because, this is going to upset some people.
Oh, boy.
No, there's a lot of people in the media that can't talk. Like X's and O's of basketball.
Yeah,
so when you get
true.
to somebody, when Mike's first question is, it sounds like you're describing Draymond, I'm sure in Kenny's mind he's like, oh my, like, wasn't expecting that. Like,
yeah, right.
But again,
that's a good point.
So when you hit him right away with something that shows him, I know what I'm talking about, you're going to get a different response out of it.
Oof, I just got a text from Jeff Shadell saying he's a little pissed at what you just said.
Sorry, Jeff.
It wasn't just the interview with me, though. Like I said, he answered 40 minutes of questions from Jason asked 2 questions.
Yeah.
Jason, you were there, and then Earl, I'm curious what you think. In terms of how he wants to use Mobley, though, because that was the biggest thing he brought up. He was here to help unlock the development. I loved when he said, when I asked him the question, developing guys take risk. Like, you may sacrifice a little bit of short-term success for long-term gains. Are you excited, and as excited as I was, listening to Kenny talk about his vision and the way he hopes to unlock Evan Mobley's offensive game next year?
I mean, for me, it seemed like just hearing his interview with you. I know I heard his interview on 92.3 The Fan as well, heard the overall press conference. For me, it seems like Evan Mobley is the biggest focal point for him, and unlocking Evan Mobley to get him to that next level. When you heard him speak about Evan Mobley, Jason, it came off as if he didn't feel like he was really utilized properly last year on either end of the floor. This is a dude that has underrated playmaking ability, right? That's not something that people talk about often, how good of a playmaker and ball handler Evan Mobley is. But he used the word quarterback of the defense yesterday when he described how he wants to use him on the defensive side of the ball, kind of like Draymond, but not in the same light. And this is a guy who wants to get Evan to be more vocal, to talk more. And so he's really seems like he's focused on developing him into that, perennial all-star that everybody believes he can be. So I'm excited about that. He talked about learning how to deal with superstar players and how that wasn't something that he was familiar with until he spent time with Ty Lue and with Steve Kerr. And he understood that these superstars are a part of the process, that you might have a plan of your own, but it's always good to bring that to the table and see what their suggestions are so you all can collab and come out with the best solution that helps the overall team. I think that even though he wasn't like my first choice for the coach, the fact that he spent that time with Ty Lue and Steve Kerr, it seems that he matured and he learned a lot about things that has nothing to do with X's and O's. The things that have everything to do with chemistry, camaraderie, and just building relationships with other people. So I'm not going to lie, dude got me really excited to see what he can bring to the table.
He won the press conference.
He won it.
Yeah. I think it's clear from his comments with Mike there that in terms of having at least one of your bigs that can shoot from the outside, it's Mobley, not Allen. Because he said, yeah, it's possible with Allen, but he was real. With Mobley, he talked about it as if that's the plan.
It's been the plan for years.
Right. But
and part of this also, guys, is on, like, Evan's got to take accountability for this.
Absolutely.
This is on Evan. And you can change the coaches and you can change the scheme and like it felt like this was the Cavs' message throughout this process of we've heard it for years, we agree with you, Evan has to be more involved, and now we're going to do something about it.
Right.
That was going to be one of their talking points throughout the day. But this also falls on Evan,
right,
of like he has to be more aggressive. And not necessarily in a vocal boisterous. Tim Duncan was very quiet, but Tim Duncan was an assassin on the court.
Right.
Evan has to get to that point where he's not just – it just seems at times that he's just lethargic on the court.
And he's happy to be just part of the background,
He has to be demonstrative.
Yeah.
And even if it's not in a vocal way, you want to go the Tim Duncan route, fine. He's one of the best to ever play the game. But he was more aggressive on the floor than what Evan is.
Mm-hmm.
And Evan just has to – and I talked to Cavs coaches last year who felt like they hoped Tristan, his vocalness and his aggressiveness and his ability to pound guys would maybe wear off a little bit on Evan. And I don't know if it really did or not. But, like – and I just want to make sure – like, this is on Evan. This is Evan's career.
Yeah.
It's his game. And Kenny they can change the schemes, and they should.
Yeah.
And we've talked about 100 times of making him more of a focal point and getting him comfortable on the offensive end. But it also falls on Evan to be accountable and to be aggressive and to open to this and to learning how to grow and flourish as a player.
He's got to want to be a superstar.
And I think he does.
Yeah.
But, I mean, he's about to get a lot of money.
Oh, yeah.
A lot of money.
You got a real-life example of what you're talking about sitting right here. Look at your son, right? You talk all the time about all the resources that you invest, all the time that you invest. You give him every tool that he needs to go out there and be great. But in order for him to go out there and accomplish greatness,
he's got to do it.
He's still got to go out
Yeah.
there and swing that
Yeah,
bat
yeah. Coach
and
can't
do
do
what
it
he
for
has
you.
to do. So I think you're absolutely right when
Yeah.
it comes to that. I think everybody wants to see Evan have success, and everybody seems like they want to be able to put him in a position to win. But Evan has to put in the work. And if you want to be great, being great comes with certain sacrifices that you got to be willing to make.
And I think he is. I don't want to make it sound like he's not putting in the work. I think he does put in the work.
Yeah.
But he has to grow.
That tough. He's got to be tougher.
And that part is on him.
Yeah. And we
There's
saw
only so much a coach can do.
I felt like in that Boston series when he was kind of alone out there, we saw the first signs of it. And for the first time, I felt like, oh, I see what everybody's talking about here.
Right. And you're 1,000% right. But I just crack up every time we talk about the Boston series because it is Deshaun's second half Baltimore.
Oh,
Evan
for sure.
against Boston is Deshaun's second half against
Raise
Baltimore.
your hand. That's me.
It's the same
Jason,
thing.
I'm telling you.
You're clinging to that.
I'm clinging to that second half into that last game I seen. Last time I seen Evan Mobley, he had 33 points. That's what I'm rolling
But
into
it's
the
also-
season
Maybe
with.
so, but let's face it. When we live in reality, not La La Land, Deshaun Watson's second half against Baltimore is the most overrated half of football in the history of the sport.
And to that, I
think
would
he
say
threw what did he throw, Mike? 90 yards?
I'll give me 1 second.
it doesn't matter. But to that
You
point,
brought it up.
But I know. But my point is
there is some similarity.
But my point to that, and I was right there with, and I am right there with you. Boston showed what Evan can do.
Yeah.
But it's also worth pointing out, Porzingis was out, and Boston was not didn't
Agreed.
have anything in the middle compared to what he will see in that role.
It
moving
didn't
forward.
convince me that he's going to take
It's
his
just-
game to another
It's
level.
just- and I agree. Like Evan against Boston showed you what can be. It's just funny how to me it has become Deshaun against the
I
second half
think
against
I knew
Baltimore.
where I was a little kind of like wrong at, or I was saying things kind of like too early. You know, you just talked about Evan becoming more aggressive and asserting himself. And, you know, I remember saying on a panel one time, you either got it or you don't. It's either in you or it's not. But then I see his brother, and his brother asserts himself. His brother is a little bit more aggressive. So I said, okay, they got the same DNA. It's got to be in there somewhere,
They
right?
probably don't have the talent though.
They got the talent, but it's like give me Isaiah's attitude and put it with Evan
Evan's
Mobley's skill set.
Yeah.
And man, you got you a dominant basketball player right there.
Yeah.
Mike?
He threw for 134 yards in the second half, Paul. I just texted you. Last thing on Atkinson real quick, and I agree. Mobley, listen, you can lead a horse to water, you can't make it drink.
Yeah.
Mobley knows he needs to shoot. He knows he needs to be more aggressive. Some guys have that intuitive mindset to go out and do it. Other guys never fully live up to their potential. It happens all the time. Jason, you were there yesterday. There was a lot of questions asked about his time spent with Ty Lue in Los Angeles and with Steve Kerr in Golden State, and he talked about why this was the right opportunity to get back into a head coaching position, knowing how much it's changed since he was in Brooklyn. Did you buy his answers that he's ready and has learned some things from those guys to now incorporate into his head coaching style with the Cavaliers?
Yeah, because his relationship with Stars is what got him tossed out of Brooklyn. The Stars said, nope, he out. So you better learn from that. And
those guys are bad guys.
well,
We don't know that.
it's the way of the NBA. It's.
I mean, we know
Stars run the
Durant and
league.
Kyrie are
I wouldn't want to coach him, but
a pain in the ass.
I wouldn't want to coach him. But like you have, Ty had Kyrie,
Right.
So and Ty is phenomenal at managing relationships with players, and Steve Kerr's the same way. Those are two of the best. I'm on record. I've said on the show before. I thought one of the biggest mistakes they made was firing Ty Lue. To this day, I think it was a massive mistake firing Ty. But there is a lot to learn from that. And now the one thing that Ty and Steve both have that Kenny doesn't is they were both former players, and Kenny's not.
That's true.
And that's a difference.
Big difference.
And players look at that as there is a line between guys who played in the league and guys who haven't. But you can still learn how to manage those relationships from guys who are really good at it. And Ty and Steve are both really good at it. And I am curious to see, and he mentioned it to Mike about how Golden State changed him a little bit. Golden State changed Mike Brown massively, but it was more on the personality side. Mike always had the X's and O's. Mike, it was more of a everything is so laid back at Golden State, and we don't have to have 3-hour practices and 2.5-hour shoot-arounds, and that's more for me than it was for them. So Mike really mellowed personally on the outs once he went through the Golden State car wash when he came out the other side. I'll be curious to know, and I don't know Kenny well at all, so I'll be curious to talk to people around him and see, as you get to know him, how did Golden State change him as a coach and as a person going in and coming out. But, I mean, Ty and Steve are two of the best to learn from.
You know, he said another thing that I thought, you know, was I appreciated because I'm trying to find that balance. You all seem to have more of it than I do. But, you know, when they talked to him about not taking the Hornets job, this is what I heard on the radio. He said, you know, family had a lot to do with why he didn't. And at that said time, I think he had moved his family 3 out of the last 4 years, and his family was just exhausted. They didn't want to continue this cycle. And when they looked at the Charlotte Hornets and he went to his wife and his kids and talked about it, they said, hell no, we're not going to move for that. And he said, like, to see his family be supportive and behind him when it came to this particular decision, you know, he said, you know, I got high schoolers. So it let him know that, one, they had his support, and two, they felt like this was a pretty good gig for him to get. I think another part of this as well, he might not be a former player, but he did win a championship with Golden State as an assistant. And I think that goes a long way.
Charlotte's a disaster.
Yeah.
It's a disaster of a franchise.
All right. And unlike the radio station where they waste half their hour on commercials and meaningless updates, we keep it moving. And also unlike the radio where they don't know how to talk about baseball, we're talking baseball. Mike, get us to it.
Well, we're going to talk a little more Cavs at the end of the show, so we'll come back to it. If you ever want even more Cavs than to get on UCSS, you can follow us on our YouTube page. We have an Ultimate Cavs show. We're going to try getting something up this week here. Sometimes it's just me. Sometimes it's me and Jason. Sometimes it's random people. It's always fun, though, so make sure you guys are subscribed to the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show channel to check that out. Also, become a newsletter member if you want by texting the number you see at the bottom of your screen. Bull, we are officially halfway through the season for the Cleveland Guardians, and they didn't play last night. I figure what better day than to grade Guardians players through the first half of the season. We're going to use whiteboards, but we're going to say screw the whiteboards.
Forget the whiteboard.
We're just going to yell the grades out. We'll run through some players. You tell me how you would grade them through the first 81 games of the year. I'm curious who pass and who have not yet lived up to your expectations. But we'll start with the guy I hope we're all in unison with, and that is Jose Ramirez. What grade does Jose get for his first half of the season performance?
A+. He's having a fantastic season. I'm not going to say MVP because he's not. I don't know if there's any competition right now with Aaron Judge for the MVP. Is there anybody competition there, Jason, for Aaron Judge?
Probably not.
Not in the American League.
I think unless he gets hurt right now, he's the runaway winner.
I was letting my bias kick in, and then I started watching more Yankee games. I was like, man, ain't nobody
about to
beat this dude for MVP.
He's got over 30 home runs.
Yeah,
he'll have
ridiculous.
100 RBIs by the break. Well, maybe not 100.
But Jose's having as good a season as anybody besides him, and maybe Ohtani, but that's about it.
Yeah.
So, Jose gets an A+.
I'll give him an A. A+, he'd have to win the MVP. You got to be perfect.
All right, fair enough.
Is 100%.
That's fair.
I'm going to give him an A.
He's an A.
He's an A.
All right, A's across the board. Go ahead.
All right, next up, Stephen Quan. He missed a month. He's been slumping over the last weekend, but he's still hitting damn near 370 on the season. What grade does Stephen Quan get?
It's an A.
A.
I mean, the guy went backwards a little bit last year, and he's an all-star, or he's going to be an all-star this year, most likely.
He better be.
I can't say how he's not. His averages dropped to 368. You knew he wasn't going to hit 400. Anybody that thought that was not living in reality. I still think he could bat 375, which would be a massive accomplishment. We'll see where he ends up. He's in a little bit of a slump, at least for him right now, but, I mean, he does everything well. So how can I not give an A when he's had a great season?
Back-to-back Gold Glove winner.
Yeah.
Even if he hits 350, he gets an A. He's added power to his game now. He's trying to unlock a little bit of power. I don't know how he's doing it. Like his swing. So now baseball, you can measure swing speed. Mm-hmm. He's got one of the slowest swings in baseball, in terms of.
Are you serious?
Yeah, like Stanton is the highest. Stanton has the highest swing speed, and Quan is Quan and Luis Arraez, another contact guy, kind of in the Quan mold, are among the lowest.
Yeah.
And like I started to dig into this, and I need to do more, but like the Guardians' exit velocity isn't much like. It's math.
What's his
really.
barrel rate, though? Is his barrel rate high?
I have to look at that. I don't
because
know.
I would bet he barrels the ball quite frequently.
You might be right.
Yeah.
But like you can take exit velocity and launch angle and figure out how far the ball's going to go.
Right.
And the Guardians' exit velocity isn't really much different than last year as a team. That's why I look at this. I'm like, how are they doing this? Because it doesn't make the math.
Some of it's got to be the stadium.
The math
Math
isn't
ain't
mathing. Yeah, the math ain't
Some of it's
mathing.
got to be the stadium. There's got to be something to it.
Maybe, and before I talk anymore,
Yeah.
I do want to dig a little bit deeper into it.
Yeah.
But like I looked at Quan the other day, and he's got one of the slowest swings in baseball, and the exit velocity hasn't really changed yet. He's hitting 370 and he's hitting home run. Like it doesn't make
crazy.
sense. But he gets an A.
He get an A from me as well. I mean, we all know the type of tear he's on. He get hurt. He comes back, and his numbers for the first couple weeks after he was back was better than the numbers that looked like before he got hurt. So, yeah, Quan get an A.
All right, Mike.
We're going to start with Josh Naylor with Earl. So, Earl, what grade does Josh Naylor get? 20 homers, 61 ribbies so far. What grade are you giving Josh?
I got to give him a B. I think that I really like Josh Naylor. I've watched more than I've watched in the past. My only issue with Josh Naylor is he seems to lack plate discipline. He seems to chase a lot of pitches, but outside of that, that's a dude that you can count on to get you some RBIs. I think that he's learned. I think it's Jose who bats in front of him more often than not, correct?
Yeah.
Like he's learned to take pitches to allow Jose to get in scoring position before he goes out there and hacks. So you can see that camaraderie building between the two. But, yeah, you get a B from me.
A-B+ for Naylor for me. He's not as good defensively as Jose and Quan are, although he's gotten better. I think he's gotten much better with his glove at first base. He was a liability there early in his career. I don't think he's a liability now, but I don't think he's a Gold Glover either. So you deduct a point or two for that. But we talked about before, even when he was slumping, he was still driving in runs. He's really done a nice job against lefties again. He's an everyday player. His RBIs are among the league leaders for first baseman, I think. Last I checked, he was right up there. I think you follow that stuff closer than I do. I think he's still right up there. A-B+ range for me.
Yeah, I mean, he's an A-. He's had a magnificent season. I don't care about his batting average. The OPS is actually a little lower than I was double-checking it because I was like, is it really 819? 819 is a good OPS, but it's not special.
No.
But he's been clutch, and there's something to be said for that.
Absolutely.
He has been insanely clutch for the Guardians this year. Now, that's something that could go away, but it hasn't. Even, as you said, even when he was slumping, he was still coming up with some big clutch hits, and that accounts for wide raising. Yes, he's a borderline liability defensively, but he's gotten better. He's not much of a base runner, but there's some intangibles about him in terms of leadership that are huge. He's the third most important player in their lineup. By the way, we have to comment for a second that Jay Crawford apparently on a day, I don't know, was Jason here that day?
Jason was not here Friday.
Jay said on Friday that Austin Hedges is the most important player on the Guardians.
I do think he's important. He's not the most important player.
That is certifiably insane. I love you, Jay. That is the most insane thing I've ever heard in my life.
I think Jose and Naylor and Tanner.
I got why he said it though.
No,
I got why he said it because I sat right here and backed him up. I'm not gonna sit up here and act like I didn't back him up.
All right, why is
he's the most important player on the Guardians?
And he said he never said that he's the best player or anything like that.
Of course, he's not the best.
This is what he feels
he's not
like.
The most important player.
He feels like that. Basically, he's the glue guy. He's the energy guy. He's the guy that's in the clubhouse. Every team has that one guy that might not be the best statistically, but he's the guy that everybody else feeds off of. And he just believes what Austin Hedges brings to the organization and brings to that clubhouse is way more important or as is important to what he brings on a baseball diamond.
Well, it's way more important because he brings nothing to the baseball
diamond.
But
I could get behind that, though.
But
I could
no way
he
brings zero to the baseball diamond. But he is not. It's insane to say he's the most important player.
Clearly, he fills a vital role because they identified something was missing, and he was one of the first pieces that they brought back. And they paid him like $4 million.
Yeah.
Like, it's crazy how much he makes.
And they clearly know he's not a guy that's going to hit for power. He's not a guy that's going to have a high average. Exactly. So for them to spend that money to bring him back, it says that he does add some value somewhere.
Well, there's a big difference between adds value, which he does as a bench guy, and is the most important player. That's insane. But you want to say he adds value, fine, I'm with you.
To get back to Naylor, though, you mentioned his base running. He is sneaky fast. For a big guy, he's a lot fast. Like,
he's not as plodding as you would think.
He has beaten out double play balls that should be double play balls, and he's busted down the line. There was remember that play at second? Like, I can't remember
Yes,
now. He
where
got
Bobby Witt.
It was against the Royals.
Yes,
And Bobby Witt.
Yes.
thought he'd just step on second base, get a double. You know,
and he beat it. Like Naylor is.
He runs like his ass is on fire.
He is for as big as he is. He is
Yeah.
sneaky fast, man.
He plays hard all the time.
All the time.
All the time. To his
And-
detriment at times, but he plays hard all the time.
And to your point about OPS, and you're right, but
Yeah.
to me, when you're looking at a middle of the order bat, the only thing that matters to me is RBIs. Are you driving guys in?
Yes.
And if you are driving guys in, I don't care about home runs, batting average, OPS, RBI. When you are the number 4 hitter, number 5 hitter,
Yeah.
are you bringing guys home? And he is. When guys are on base, when guys are in scoring position,
Yeah.
he's productive.
Yeah. Next.
Jason asked where Josh Naylor ranks in the RBI race.
Oh, yeah.
Tied for 6th right now with Juan Soto. Trailing
Overall.
only Judge, Ramirez, Alec Baum of Philadelphia, Marcell Ozuna, and Shohei Ohtani. Only 5 players.
Well,
in
none of those
baseball.
other guys play first base.
Yeah, so he
With
leads
those
all
guys.
first basemen then with
Yeah.
RBIs.
Correct.
Okay.
Jason, you'll start us off on our next player, Andres Jimenez, who's hitting .246 with 5 homers and 38 ribbies this year.
This one's a little bit harder. He has not blossomed offensively like we thought he would when he signed that deal, but he is so good defensively. I think he's a B-.
I give him a C. I mean, I'm starting to worry that 2022 was an anomaly.
It's looking that. I mean,
Yeah.
644 OPS is
Terrible.
Terrible.
Yeah.
But he is.
His OPS as a Guardian outside of 2022 is very poor.
I actually think I think those numbers merit moving him to short and finding another second baseman.
But Zach and I were talking about the last 3 years of his contract. If he doesn't get the offense going again, are a disaster. Those in 25, 26, and 27, he's making $25 million a year.
Yeah, I do like him as a player, but
Yeah, go ahead.
but-
yeah,
it is a concern
Yeah.
that he has not. I mean, 2 years ago, I was all in on him and
Yeah,
thought
no.
this is great. They traded Lindor. They
Yeah.
got someone equal of his in a replacement, and he signed the contract that Lindor wouldn't sign. 2 years later, it's hard
yeah.
to say that.
And now he's still young.
Yeah.
And he could get the bat back on track. But the reality is, if the Guardians could do over that contract, they would do it over.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, offensively, he's probably a C-, D+.
Yeah.
But defensively, is worth a letter grade to me. That's why I give
Yeah.
him a B-.
I give him a C because, I mean, we already talked about it.
I'm
Go
giving
ahead.
him a B. I think defensively he's like an A++. And I do know the first couple months of the season offensively he was very productive. He hasn't been as productive lately. I think he talked about during the Royal Series how he felt like he was swinging the bat as good as he was in April, and it had been a while since he had felt that way. I have confidence that he can turn it around offensively. I'm going to give him a B.
I do think he's a guy that sometimes gets lost in his own head. Yeah. And I was part of that too. Like, why isn't Tito batting him higher in the order?
Yeah.
I think there's a reason why
Yeah.
they bat him lower in the order.
Yeah,
And I
they'll
think
probably-
I think a lot of times
They
he
need a
gets-
two-hitter on this team.
Yeah. I thought it would be Freeman. I still
Yeah.
think it can be Freeman. But
Didn't
yeah, they
bat
could use an
Schneeman
upgrade.
in a two
I don't think
spot?
I don't like anybody in this lineup as a two-hitter.
Didn't
They need
bat
a real
Schneeman
two-hitter.
Sunday in a 2 spot, I think.
They've been bouncing guys around. I don't remember if he was hitting
Well,
2-2.
you guys just mentioned Freeman, who's our next player. So
Yeah.
let's get to Freeman. He was hot for a while. Over the
Yeah.
last 30 games, he's really struggled.
Yeah.
He's hitting just 167 in June.
But my
over the
expectations
last
for him
23
coming into the
games.
season
So-
weren't that high. That factors
So what's your
into
guess?
me.
So what's your grade for Tyler Freeman? We'll start with you.
I give him a C.
Same.
I mean, he's been an okay hitter overall.
What's his overall numbers, Mike?
Defense has been
There we go.
solid. Yeah, it's pretty bad.
I still like him. Like, this is his first chance to play
Right.
every day.
Right.
So
It's a C, and that's being maybe a little generous.
yeah, I'm not ready to give up on him.
No,
Like,
I'm not giving up on
I
him,
think
but-
he could be a guy in this lineup for the next 5-6
There's still
years.
potential. His first full year, so
Yeah.
I'm fine. I mean, he's done okay, but it's
He's filled it. Is he a perfect center fielder? No.
No.
Has he filled a need for them? Yeah.
yeah, he's done a solid job out
Yeah.
there.
I think I would still like to see Quan in center and a better
He
bat
doesn't
in
want
left.
to be in center, I don't think.
You might be right.
Yeah.
That might be why he's still in left
Yeah.
because otherwise it doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me why
Right.
he wouldn't.
Let's go get it. Let's go get another hitter.
They're not exactly
Guardians.
they're not exactly overflowing with
Yeah.
power hitting outfielders. It's been a
Yeah.
problem since the 90s, since Manny left. But
So you got a C for him.
I'd give him a C minus, probably C minus.
You know, I tried to
And
play
that's being
center
generous.
field with my creator player on MLB The Show, and that did not go well. So I can understand why Quan
Center
might
field
want to
is
stay
tough.
in left field. But I'll give him a C as well. This is his first full opportunity to be an everyday player, and this is his first time playing center field. And I think that when you put him out there and you see how well he's done, considering he's never done it before, of course there's room for improvement. I can rock with that. I think Stephen Vogt is getting the most out of this dude, and I think it's more to be desired. So,
All right, next.
This one I'm hoping across the board is unanimous as well, but David Fry. What grade is David Fry getting?
Earl?
David Fry get an A because he exceeded every expectation for the first 3 months of the season that anybody had set for him. This is the dude who we didn't know was going to make the final 40-man roster. This is the dude that if you look at his numbers this year, like nobody could have ever projected that for him. If the season ended for him and those his numbers, people would be like, damn. You know, you would have won all kind of money on FanDuel if you would have had that.
If you told me he was going to end the
ticket.
year with 8 homers and 32 ribbies and those.
The fact that we sit here July 2nd and those is his numbers despite the slump he's had recently, I got to give him an A.
Yeah, I agree.
When I was in school, I don't know if they still do this. When I never got one of these. When I was in school, you got an H. You remember that? Anyone else remember that?
No, that was an H.
Is that honors?
Yes, it was like better than an A+.
Oh, yeah.
If you got higher than an A+, like extra
That
credit,
must have been a special Avon thing.
you got Avon Lake. Don't ever call me an Avon.
You know he's
were
serious
very
about that.
offended
We
by
are
that.
north of the tracks. We are not south.
He
We
claimed
are north.
AL, fool.
But there was such a thing for the smart kids. Again, I've never seen this on my report card. It was an H. I give David Fry an H. This dude, I remember when he was batting in the opening day lineup, I'm like, what is David Fry in the opening day lineup?
Me too.
What is going on?
Yeah.
Oh, man. He has exceeded every expectation times 10.
Yeah.
He's kept it going all year long. You thought it was just a hot start, maybe a hot month, maybe a hot 2 months. Guys, it's July, and he's still producing.
It's so
He's an
funny.
H.
Like when my friends would ask me stuff about baseball, I said, well, Bull said, and Jason said, they asked me about him before the season. I said, well, Bull said he sucks. So
I don't know that I said he sucks, but I didn't
His
expect
exact quote, Earl, his exact quote was, he really, really, really sucks. He's the worst. He's always been
not
hedges
say
minus. No, he didn't say that.
no, but it's so
But I
funny
didn't
because
think anything of him. I thought he was just a bench guy.
So people would come to me months later. I said, I thought you said Bull said he sucked. I said, listen, we all had this wrong.
He was a utility guy.
Yeah, I thought he was going to be a utility guy. I was
Yeah.
fine with him on the team, but like I didn't expect anything like this. Of course, he gets an H or an A or
He
whatever.
get an H.
So Fry obviously
Yeah.
exceeded expectations.
Yeah.
His next player got called up. Spent about a month in the majors. We saw a month of Kyle Manzardo. How would you grade? It's obviously incomplete, but for the month we saw, how would you grade Kyle Manzardo?
It's unfair because they didn't even let him play first base, so I can't
Right.
even grade his defense.
Right.
You can give me an incomplete. If you want to just leave it at incomplete,
I'll give it a
I'll buy
D.
it.
I mean, he didn't really show you much. I know he had some doubles, but they always seem to be bloopers that just happen to fall in the right spot. He didn't really do much. I'll go D. I mean, I don't know. I don't know how to grade him right now.
Yeah.
He's barely played.
D+, incomplete, any
Yeah.
of those. We'll get another look at him here at some point.
Earl, do you feel like he's got to shave the mustache? Do we have to do that? Is it whole? I mean, he looks really trashy.
So let me ask you let me ask somebody a question
Yeah.
here. Is this like this is like a 25 and younger white boy phenomenon
I
with this
don't
here
understand.
mustache?
I don't get it.
My son has come home with it a couple times,
Like-
and I'm like, bro.
Like I keep
so
seeing
trashy.
him everywhere, and it's like, man, where are they getting these
I don't-
mustaches from?
Blame that stupid Top Gun movie.
Is that where it comes from?
Yes, that Maverick movie, I think, is where all
Oh,
this
yeah?
crap restarted again. Because my oldest, Alex, will have like a full beard, and then
Yeah.
one day he comes down with like the,
Oh, my
the
God.
pedophile stash. I'm like, dude.
Does he have all the kids look like all
Dustin
the teenage
Fox
boys
was
look like
rocking this-
llamas too?
You know, Dustin was rocking the same mustache
he?
for a minute too.
God. Not llamas. What's the animal with the alpacas? All these kids today look like alpacas with their hair.
With the mohawk.
Oh,
No, just like so much hair in the front. I don't know what the
Oh, you
hell's
mean
going
like
on.
that?
Yeah, kind of. And AJ's got like a.
He's got the
He's
lettuce.
got a mullet.
He's got the, he
That's what
he's
the
got
power
throw.
hitters rock, man.
Yeah.
That's what the power. Look at him.
You should see him with the hat on when he's running full speed with the flow going.
Yeah, a lot of flow these days.
But I'll give him an incomplete. I guess, like, I bought the hype, right? The Kyle Manzardo hype was real. I heard about him all through the season, how he needed to be here, how the Guardians, it was mandatory to put that bat in the lineup, and how he was going to produce right away. The very first time I seen this first at bat, he took a fastball right down the middle, and my man ain't been the same yet. Like, if you would have told me that Kyle Manzardo, of all the young prospects we've seen, kind of like would be in the I haven't hit a home run yet camp, I wouldn't have believed it when he was called up.
He's hit 4 home runs in his last 5 games in Columbus. Go figure,
I don't like how they used him when he was here. They played him inconsistently.
Yeah.
They didn't let him play. Like, he's a young kid. You have him DHing every game. I just didn't like that.
Yeah,
but.
no, I agree. And I do think he's going to be fine long term. I'm not worried about him at all yet about that. And the reason I think there was a need to bring him up is because there's holes in the offense.
Right.
So bring this guy up and see what he can do. But I would like to see him get more opportunities at first, just for him. We talk about Evan Mobley. How do you make Evan Mobley more comfortable? How do you make Kyle Manzardo more comfortable? Put him in positions that he's used to. But he's behind a veteran who's an all-star. So you're going to defer to the veteran all-star right now in Josh Naylor.
Should we do rapid fire, the rest of the hitters, like rapid fire grades?
Any hitter you want to mention? We missed?
Brian Rocchio, F. G.
F.
Actually, I'd give him a D minus.
Okay.
Bo Naylor.
Bo Naylor, D minus.
D, because he's
He's
coming around.
You're right. I'm going to D.
Defensively, he's very good.
Well, he's good at framing pitches.
Okay.
He can't throw anybody out.
Okay.
He's not great at blocking the ball.
I'll take a framer over a thrower.
I'll go
right
C
now.
minus, though. His bat, I thought, would start to get hot. It has.
Yeah.
So I'm actually going to grade the C minus because he has been out lately.
Yeah, my man's a framer. I'm like you. He a framer. I got to get with that framework. But I'm gonna give him a D. I had higher expectations. I told you I thought he was gonna hit 20 home runs this year.
I never had high expectations.
John
for him
Kenzie,
offensively.
go.
A plus.
A plus.
Only for the nickname.
J Hunk.
A plus for the nickname. And
We're gonna look
Next,
at the
pitchers.
bullpen. The bullpen's been so good.
A.
Everybody
A
gets
plus.
an A in the pen.
That's why we're doing
A
this
plus. A plus. Whoever you throw out there.
Who doesn't get an A in
The
that
guy
bullpen?
they just DFA'd yesterday. He was awful. Who was that guy?
Darren McCoggin?
Oh, God.
They got him from Seattle. He'd been a starting pitcher in
He
Seattle.
was just there to eat innings and get crawled.
Yeah, he does.
Like, that wasn't even real.
Everybody
So
there. I mean,
everyone gets an A in the bullpen.
Yeah,
essentially.
pretty much. Nah, I'm not giving Eli Morgan an A or Pedro.
But as a collection, we give the bullpen
big
an
time.
A.
Yeah.
Emmanuel Clase deserves some love, though. He's been absolutely fantastic.
A plus plus plus.
And so have most of the setup guys. Go ahead.
Tanner Bybee.
A minus.
B plus.
B. B plus. He got rocked in that last game versus Kansas City.
I got stock.
No, he didn't get rocked.
I mean, he was giving up home runs, man.
How many? But he only gave up like 2 runs, right?
I'm just
He had
not.
2 home runs, but 2 earned.
Yeah, he didn't have his best stuff that day.
That's basically what I'm saying.
But that
All right,
showed
yeah,
me,
fair.
like,
But-
but he still got through 6.
Yeah, and he only gave 2 runs in the end, even though he got rocked for 2 homers. You're
Yeah.
right. But
when you can, like, those are the when you don't have your
Gotta
best
grind.
stuff and you can still fight through. I mean, the Royals aren't
Yeah.
the Yankees, but still.
overall, he's pitched very well. He's had some shaky starts, especially early in the season.
I think
he needs to go deeper into games. He's averaging about 5.5 innings per
From
start.
mid-May on, I think he's been everything you want from him.
Yeah, absolutely.
Jason, you was right, though. I was watching that show when I was at home a couple weeks ago and I was off. This dude has ace potential.
Yeah.
And it's like if he can learn to go deeper into innings, Guardians got a good problem on
I
their
mean,
hands.
the way baseball is and the way batters now fight through and foul off pitches and
Yeah.
compete, if you can give me 6, I'll take it. 6
Yeah, I
is
mean,
a starter.
I was
Anything
saying-
more than that is gravy.
Tyvus was asking me yesterday, how many innings do you want to see a guy pitch? I said, well, 50 years ago it was 9. 30
Yeah.
years ago it was 8.
Yeah.
10 years ago it was still 7.
Yeah.
Now you just want him to go 6.
6. If you can get 6 out of your ace,
But, yeah.
3 and 4 starters really into the 5th. I mean, how many times have we seen guys
Yeah.
pulled now in the 5th
Right.
and not even qualify for a
Bybee
win?
is averaging 5.5. Bybee and Lively are averaging 5.5 innings.
Is that
per
all
game.
year?
All year.
I wonder if mid-May, I bet you it's higher.
Yeah, but
maybe not. He got off to a Tanner Bybee.
Yeah, he
not
had some
good in
bad
April.
starts. He had some bad starts.
But
early,
mid-May on, he's been
great. Go ahead.
One word answer. A for Lively.
A plus.
Yeah.
A plus.
He's in
Easy.
he's
The guy's been one of the probably the 30 best pitchers and starters in baseball, and he's a journeyman.
and we've seen that this year. Like that's actually just sort of struck a story idea. Like Lugo, Flaherty, Lively. These
year
guys,
of the resurgence.
Lively's not even in the same class as those guys.
but these guys are having career years that
Flaherty's had good years before.
were not like this. Not like this.
Ben Lively had barely been a major league pitcher.
But he was a top prospect at one time. He
Right,
was a
but he'd
top
been
100
awful
guy.
whenever
I
he'd
know.
been in the majors.
But somebody saw enough in him at one time that he was a top 100 prospect, and now he never did anything with it.
Right, but before the season, you could have gotten some people to say Seth Lugo was going to pitch well or Flaherty was going to pitch well. You couldn't have got a single person on earth that would said Ben Lively
That's
was going to
probably
pitch like
true,
this
but
well.
not to the extent that Flaherty and Lugo, the numbers that they've put up. these
Sure,
guys
but those guys have been even better than Lively.
yeah, they
significantly
have.
better than Lively.
But I'm just saying, this is the year of the unknown pitcher emerging.
But in the end, you're right. They've both been way better than you. All three have been way better than you thought. But to me, Lively's the most shocking of anybody in baseball.
I would agree with that.
And the fact that they've needed him because everybody else besides Bibby's been terrible.
Yeah. And hopefully Gavin Williams now, I'm really interested to see. Listen, it's July. You've got 3 months to get him ramped up. Because, again, barring a complete collapse, which with this rotation I guess is possible with the state that it's in, this team's going to the playoffs. I'm worried about
October. They need eating in. And I'm worried about the bullpen getting burned out.
I know.
And, Logan Allen, I don't trust him at all.
Logan Allen and McKenzie were the next two. I lumped them together.
Both get Fs.
Both Fs?
Yeah.
Jason, are they both
it
Fs?
hurts my heart to give Tristan enough because of everything he's trying to pitch through.
I love him, but he's been terrible.
He's in AAA.
Yeah.
Who would ever thought last year, 2 years ago, Tristan McKenzie would ever be back in Columbus at any point?
Hard to believe.
So, Logan, I'd give them both D-. I'm not going to flunk them.
Earl, D- and F. What do you give these two?
I'm going with a D-.
Jeez,
I ain't
you
gonna
guys
give him
been way too nice.
And we end our grading segment with Cookie Carrasco. Real quick on Cookie.
I give him a C-.
I'll give him a D.
I'm gonna give him a D.
He's been
better than I thought he would.
Yeah, he's been serviceable. What's his ERA, by the way?
Who, Carrasco?
Yeah.
Carrasco on the season. His ERA is Cookie 5.27.
Yeah.
He's Harris from Major League.
Good.
He's Harris now. He's got Vaseline. He's got snot. He's got some
been
pine
able
tar.
to keep
He's
them
got
in
some gum.
He has kept them in enough games and given them a chance.
He's a veteran
That's
pitcher.
all you want from him at this point.
Yes. Now, I don't trust him in a playoff game.
No, zero chance.
Yeah.
But
he shouldn't even be on the roster. Like Tristan, I can get behind Tristan as a reliever on the playoff roster.
Yeah.
I can't get behind Cookie making the
No,
playoff
but that's why they need to put Tristan in the bullpen now, I think, in the minors. All right, Mike.
Let's talk a little Browns after a word from FanDuel. You guys know I love sports. I love them so much. I never want them to stop, but as the playoffs wind down, we get fewer and fewer games, and the sports just aren't sportsing like I want them to. But thanks to FanDuel, I can keep the sports going whenever I want just by opening the app and dreaming up bets anytime I'm in the mood. All this summer, FanDuel is cooking up customers with a bonus or a boost daily. That's right. There's something new for everyone every day all summer long. So head over to FanDuel.com/UCSS and start making the most out of your summer. FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of Major League Baseball and the official sportsbook of the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show. And today's winning ticket comes from our guy, Dogecoin McRiblets, who hit a 4-part, actually it turned into a 3-part because one of the legs was voided, UFC parlay over the weekend. He won $53.28. 5 times the amount of money he bet. $10 wager won him $53. So shout out to Dogecoin McRiblets for sending the ticket. If you have a winning ticket, make sure you guys send it in to us as well. We love off-season list bowl, and Pete Prisco, who's been on the show before, released his top 100 players for the upcoming NFL season. And if you want to take the graphic, it starts at 211. Pete Prisco's top 5 players for 2024 include Patrick Mahomes, Myles Garrett at 2, Trent Williams at 3, Tyreek Hill at 4, T.J. Watt at 5, 6 through 10 looks like
Josh Allen. Are you
going
going to read the whole 100?
Justin Jefferson, Christian McCaffrey, Micah Parsons, and Nick Bosa. We don't have time to read all 100, so I'll tell you where all the Browns on this list landed. Myles Garrett at 2, and that's it.
Yeah.
Not a single other member of the Cleveland Browns
Well, let me read
was on the list.
Let me read you 91 to 100, and then we can have a conversation. Because just saying, should a Brown be in the top 100, number one, it's a silly argument because, first of all, there's a lot of bias for the Browns. It's hard to compare. You don't know who you're comparing to. Keep in mind, you know how many starters there are in the NFL? And that's just saying 22 per team. There's really more than that because there's some guys that, like, you know, the nickel corner or whatever. That's over 700 starters in the NFL. There are over 1,700 players in the NFL. So to be a top 100 player is the best of the best. You're essentially a legit Pro Bowler, not because 7 guys canceled on the Pro Bowl. You're a legit Pro Bowler. Here's 91 to 100. Ready? 91, Derrick Henry. 92, Tyrann Mathieu. 93, Jalen Carter. 94, Zach Martin. 95, Jeffrey Simmons, the defensive tackle for the Titans. 96, Brian Burns, defensive lineman from the Giants now. 97, Levante David. 98, Kirk Cousins. 99, Texans defensive end Will Anderson. And number 100, Tyler Linderbaum, the center for the Ravens. Now,
Wait, Bull, I'm jumping in real quick.
Yeah.
Because I didn't even look at that. And when we were going back and forth, you and I, before the show on JOK in particular, you said, well, they have to do it more than 1 year. He had 2 rookies in 91 to 100.
I was just saying for me, this is his list. He can do it however he wants.
You were saying if you were making it. Okay.
Yes, yeah.
Okay.
By the way, I don't know if you saw, there was an honorable mention. He has about probably 50 to 70 guys on honorable mention. So here's who he has for the Browns on honorable mention. So these are the guys, based on his list, you could maybe argue should have been on. Here's Browns on the honorable mention list. David Njoku, who, like JOK, has only done it for 1 year, at least at that higher level. Okay, wait a second. David Njoku. There's got to be more than one Browns player on the... let's see. Colts, 49ers, Jaguars, Bengals, Jets, Giants, Lions, Colts, Commanders, Lions, Rams.
He has Njoku, Batonio, Cooper, and Ward on the honorable mention list.
Njoku, Batonio, Mari Cooper, and Ward. Yes. Go ahead. So would you have any of those guys?
You're going to make me care about a stupid list that I don't
Oh, we're
care
just having
about.
some fun. Come on.
Who cares what Pete Prisco thinks?
I don't care
What
either.
does he know?
There's
Like,
not much
who
to talk
cares?
about in football this time of the year.
All right.
Would you have any of those guys in the top 100?
So here's how first of all, how do you compare a cornerback to a defensive
It's
tackle?
impossible.
That's what makes this so stupid.
Yes.
So let's try and add at least 1% of sanity to it.
Let's do it.
I went back up and found, because I think Denzel Ward belongs on the list.
I agree.
Who's better? Here's the lowest rated cornerback that he has on this list.
Yeah.
Is Derek Stingley Jr. at 80th. Who
That's
would
the
you
only
rather
problem.
have?
Like, I don't know how good. But do we know how good Derek Stingley Jr. is? We're not watching him play.
No,
No,
but-
yes we do. Yes,
No,
Bull,
we
yes
don't,
we
Earl.
do.
Come
No,
on.
no, Bull, because you make that statement all the time
It's
while
true,
we're watching them
because
play.
I keep it real. Everybody's full of shit.
No, not
You don't know
everybody
how good
is
he
full of
is.
shit. I watch a lot of football, a whole lot of
I
football.
watch more football than anybody. I don't know how good Derek Stingley Jr. is.
I watch
You're
a lot
not
of
studying Derek
I
Stingley
watch a lot of
Jr.
college football as well. I done watched
But
this man
Earl,
play since he's
you're
been
not
at LSU.
studying it like a scout. Like for nobody is.
He's not even studying it like a scout
an
based
idiot
off this
too.
list.
He don't know either.
I'm not an idiot though.
All right, here.
I'm not saying he
Here,
knows.
I'll go one better. He's
Yeah.
got Devin Witherspoon at 74th, who was a rookie last year, playing
Yeah.
in the slot.
I think Denzel
I take
Ward's a top
Denzel
100
Ward over
player.
Devin Witherspoon.
I'm just not going to definitively say that because I don't know for sure. But I think Denzel Ward. Yeah, you guys say whatever you want.
I would
I'm
take
just talking
Ward
for
over a
myself.
rookie.
I think Denzel Ward's a top 100 player. I think Amari Cooper's a top 100 player. I think Joe Batonio's a top 100 player. I would have those three guys somewhere at least between 80 and 100 for me. So I think he got it wrong. I do think those three guys belong. I wouldn't have David Njoku in the top 100. I wouldn't have JOK in the top 100 for me. And there's nobody else. I don't know. Wyatt Teller, I guess, maybe. I wouldn't have. I don't
He's
know.
got
That.
Mike Evans as his lowest rated receiver at 88th. Do you think Amari Cooper is better than Mike Evans?
I do not, but I probably have more wide receivers on the list.
Okay.
Have you ever heard of Aleem McNeil, Bull?
No, I don't think so.
He's the 89th overall player on this list, a Lions defensive tackle who, I'm going to be honest, I had never heard of before seeing his name right now.
Have you guys ever heard of Aleem McNeil?
No.
No, but I don't care about this dumb list. It's dumb. This is dumb.
But we're talking whatever.
I'm not disparaging Mike in the topic. I just think all of these top 100 things
I know,
are
but
stupid.
listen, just go with it here. So who would you have in the top 100?
All right, so about the list,
Yeah.
I think the list is stupid. I don't agree with the list at all. I think that when you look at the Cleveland Browns, and I know I'm biased, but if you look at it, Denzel Ward is one of the top 10 corners in the entire NFL. When you look at it, Joe Batonio and Wyatt Teller are two of the top 10 guards in the entire NFL. Jock is one of the best linebackers in his position, at his position.
He's only done it 1 year.
I understand that, but he
Yeah.
got, Jordan Love is on this list, and he only did it 1 year. And people are going to put an asterisk next to that because he's a quarterback. There's a lot of guys on this list that done it 1 year or no years at all. I just think when you look at the Browns roster, you can point to 4 or 5 guys and say, that's a top 10 player at said position. And so for
I'm
me,
not sure David Njoku is definitely a top 10 player at tight end. I'm not sure about that.
Top 10?
he's a top 10
He's
tight end.
probably the back end of the top 10, but I don't know. Is he definitely
I mean,
top
if
10?
Joe Flacco's throwing to him, he's in the top 10. He was phenomenal last year when Flacco
And I didn't
came
even
in.
mention Njoku, but I would throw Njoku's name in there. Njoku was in the top 10 in his position. Ward is. I think Jock is. I
Right, but
think
just
both
being
Teller
in the top
and
10 doesn't make
Batonio.
you a top 100 player.
It don't, but if that's the case, then you need to reassess this entire list for everybody on it.
No,
Because
you don't. It's his list. He has the right to do it however the hell he wants. Just like if you're making your list, you
yeah,
can do
I
it
mean,
however
and the
the hell
same
you
thing with
want.
Amari Cooper. Like leaving Amari Cooper off any list is insane. is absolutely
But in
insane.
fairness, Jason brought the point. Now, again, I would have him on there. Mike Evans is the last receiver. Amari Cooper's not better than Mike Evans.
I'm curious to know who he has. I'm pretty sure a lot of the wide receivers on this list above Mike Evans ain't better than Mike Evans.
Well, let's see who he has above Mike Evans.
Wide receivers on this
DJ
list.
Moore.
You ready, both these? I got the receivers. This is in order of how he ranked
Yeah.
receivers. Tyreek Hill, Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase, CeeDee Lamb, Devontae Adams, A.J. Brown. If you guys find someone who...
Yeah, go ahead.
I'll
That's
keep
6.
Amon-Ra St. Brown,
7,
Jalen Waddle,
8,
Brandon Ayuk,
9.
Puka Nacua,
Puka. That's only 1 year, but that's his list. 10,
George Pickens,
11. Wow.
Garrett
This
Wilson,
Pickett's really high.
12,
I do.
Nico
like Pickett.
Collins,
13,
Debo,
14,
Devonta Smith,
15,
DJ Moore,
16,
Mike Evans.
17. Is Amari Cooper better than any of those guys?
Amari is better than Debo, Pickens.
He's not
He's
better.
not better than Pickens.
I think he's better than Pickens.
I don't think he is.
I think he's better than Pickens.
I think Pickens is that trash.
I was going to say you wouldn't take him over Pickens, but that's because that's age. But, I mean, it's hard to say who's better than. I think right now, I mean, there's no way I'm taking Amari Cooper over Pickens.
No.
But that's not fair because age is factoring into that thought.
I think Pickens is really good. I think
But he hasn't.
He's had terrible.
He hasn't
quarterback play.
produced enough on the field to this point.
Because he's had trash throwing.
I hear you. I agree with you, but he hasn't produced enough on the field.
Yeah.
So you can make that. I don't know how he's ahead of Garrett Wilson. Garrett Wilson's been more productive on the field, and Garrett Wilson also has played with crap.
So
quarterbacks.
Garrett Wilson's not on that list.
No,
He's on there.
No, he is.
But
But you just made a point about age, and I think again, I don't know what went into him putting this list together,
Yeah.
but Trent Williams was in the top 5, and Trent Williams was one of the older players in
Well,
the
he had
NFL.
Devontae Adams high at wide
Yeah, and
receiver.
so, like,
Eagle.
again-
everybody's entitled. I don't like shitting on anybody's list because everybody's entitled to do the list.
You know
the way
what I
they
get
want.
tired of, boy? I be
Yeah.
feeling like a lot of times nationally people be shitting on the Browns.
Oh,
and that's what I get
think
tired
that's-
of.
I think
feel
that's
like, no, I'm being
paranoia.
honest. I'm just giving you my opinion.
Yeah.
I feel like that when you got guys like Njoku, Ward, and I'm going to throw MJ Emerson in there, I'm going to throw the guards in there. When you got guys that's, if you look at PFF, if you look at stats at the end of the season, if you look at any other like publication and they break down all these guys, you have players on this team that rank towards the very top of all those said lists. Yet when all these offseason lists come out, it just seemed like because of whatever minutia that's involved with them being on the Cleveland Browns, that they forever got to prove it more than other
But
people.
what other
so
lists?
I'm just saying, my opinion.
Yeah.
I think a lot of time they put these lists out and they be shitting on the players on the Cleveland Browns. That's just my opinion.
I don't agree with that. I think you're biased and emotional about it, and I get it. But what other list has disrespected the Browns?
I could go back to the list that had Kevin Stefanski ranked as one of the bottom coaches, or the list that like named the corner duos and didn't
So
have the
every
Browns
time
on
the
there.
Browns are low on a list,
I'm
it's people
just
purposely
saying-
being disrespectful to the
I'm
Browns.
just giving you my opinion. Yes,
But
I
think about that rationally.
I'm thinking
Why?
about it very rationally. I'm gonna
Yeah.
use MJ Emerson
Yeah.
for example.
Earl, he's not a top 100
Just let
player.
me finish
Come
what
on.
I'm saying,
Yeah.
boy. MJ finished the season
Yeah.
as top 5 in both man and zone coverage. MJ
Based
did
on what?
Just
I'm
listen.
asking, I gotta ask you a question. Based on what?
Based on the film breakdown, I forget the publication's name. I got to save it on my phone. I'll send
Yeah,
it to you.
yeah.
He finished top 5 in man and zone coverage. The man didn't give up a touchdown. He had 4 interceptions. Opposing QBR and passer and like completion percentage against him was low. It's the same thing for Denzel Ward. I mean, you could go to Amari Cooper. He had games over 200 yards like receiving.
Yeah.
There is data that supports that certain players on this team balled out, and yet when they put these lists together at the end of the year, they don't get no love because they played for the Browns.
I just don't believe that. But all right, whatever. We'll agree to disagree on that.
I think 15 years ago, 10 years ago, that was true. I do think it's changed now.
Yeah.
I think it's and like when you're a bad team, no, you don't
Yeah.
get calls, you don't get respect. But I think the Browns. I mean, look how many times they're on national television this year. I think that
Yeah.
that has been
Right.
cleansed or swung or whatever.
Yeah, and that happened because the Browns were so bad for so long.
Yeah.
You're not going to give
You didn't
teams-
deserve it.
Right,
I'm just saying,
exactly.
I've been watching this team close since I was a little kid.
But
and
you're
it just-
biased, Earl.
But
you got to admit
but
that.
bias, I am biased. But every team of any fan is biased. But I'm not just sitting up here spewing shit just to be spewing it. If you look at the data of some of
Yeah.
these players, Jock was the only linebacker in the NFL last year that had over 10 tackles for loss,
Yeah.
had sacks, forced turnovers.
He was phenomenal.
Phenomenal. And he's
Yeah.
not on this list. Even when players on this team prove it,
Yeah.
based on what the publication is, it's felt like that they got to prove it more than the next man. And whatever that's associated behind that reasoning,
Yeah.
it just looks that way to me.
I think if you look at another list, somebody else would have JOK in their top 100. Certainly Denzel Ward has an argument. Nobody's putting your boy on a top 100 player list. I mean, come on now. Let's be serious here. There's some of the guys you can make an argument for. I was surprised that Joel Bitonio's not on that list. Because
I made All-Pro last year.
Yeah, I mean, but whatever. I don't get angry about lists because it's just one guy's opinion.
Yeah, I don't care.
It's just like, who cares? How many players for the other teams in the division did they have?
Let's look it up. We'll do Ravens first, I guess.
Yeah.
Derrick Henry, Mark
Yeah.
Andrews, Matabike, Roquan, Kyle Hamilton, Lamar, and that's it. So what's that?
That's six. Six Ravens.
Bengals,
Chase, Burrow, Higgins. No, Higgins didn't make the list, I don't think.
Hendrickson,
Chase and Burrow.
Burrow, and Chase. That's it.
3. Yeah.
And then Steelers. Try to type with one hand while my hand's on the mic. Steelers, Pickens, and Watt, 2. That's it.
All right.
So,
The Ravens were the only team that got a lot from this division.
yep.
And they went the farthest last year.
Yeah.
All right, we're going to take a break. We're going to move back to a little Cavs here. A quick reminder that if you're not a newsletter subscriber, you click the text the number at the bottom of your screen. You can't click that, but you can text the number to sign up. We also have a partnership with Fanatics, and you could buy your Browns gear, your Guardians gear, your Cavs gear at fanatics.com/UCSS. You can see that link at the bottom of your screen, so make sure you guys check those out for your gear. We started the show talking Cavs. We got off Cavs. We're going to go back to Cavs and wrap it up with this. Koby Altman has stayed steadfast, and he mentioned it again yesterday, in their intent to keep the core four together, guys. And we talked yesterday about their best path to improvement may be internal growth, Bull, Jason, and Earl. For the sake of this discussion, let's say Kenny Atkinson is able to unlock another level of Jarrett Allen and Evan Mobley and Donovan Mitchell and Darius Garland and get this core four to reach their utmost potential. Is that enough? Is that internal growth enough to keep up with some of the other splash moves the fellow Eastern Conference contenders have made this summer?
By the way, Jason, this was a big topic point yesterday. G and I got into an argument about this because I have been like G, screaming for 2 years, break it up, break it up, break it up, break it up. Kobe's an idiot, break it up, break it up, break it up, break it up, break it up. And all of a sudden I had an epiphany or something in the last week. And I was like, the only way this team's going to get better is internally. Let me rephrase. In terms of the top 4 players on the team. They're not going to get better trading Darius Garland because he's worth nothing right now. They're not getting a wing player for Darius Garland. And Jarrett Allen's really good. I don't want to trade him. I just don't think it makes sense to trade him. I don't think you're going to get a better player. Now, if you can, fine. But ultimately, the Cavs' best path, in my mind, to winning a championship is this coaching staff getting Darius Garland back to the player he was and turning Evan Mobley into a superstar. If that happens and they add the right pieces around them, then I think they can be a championship contender. It's not by just trading for trade's sake.
I just don't know what Garrett or anyone else thinks you're going to get. Who are you going to get?
There were no answers
in the
yesterday.
trade that's going to make you significantly better. I do think that there's a path to get to. First of all, I'm not totally convinced that these 4 are coming back.
Of course not.
Today is the first actionable item. Donovan signed the contract.
Yeah.
Okay, so our report after the Boston series was if Donovan re-signs, they could look to get Darius out. Well, that hasn't happened until 9 a.m. I guess over the weekend, but 9 a.m. this morning it was announced contract is done. Okay, now let's wait and see what happens. But I do think the Cavs' best path to title contention is if Evan Mobley's their best player. I've said that for years. Evan has to be their number 1. Donovan has to be their number 2. If Donovan Mitchell is your best player on your team, he's now 7 years into the league, and he's not made it past the second round. How much more evidence do you – he's a fantastic talent. I'm not trying to disparage him.
Yeah.
But we have 50 years of history and two guys that I can think of that a small undersized guard led them to a title, Isaiah Thomas and Steph Curry. And Thomas had a ton of talent. Every championship team has a ton of talent around him. But Steph Curry had the most shooting in the history of the game around him and another transcendental player next to him in KD for a lot of those years. So it's really hard when you're an undersized guard and you're the best player on the team to win a championship. So if we're having a championship level conversation, how do the Cavs get into contention of winning the championship? I think it has to be with Evan as their best player, unless you're going to go find a magical player in the sky that doesn't exist right now that fits onto this team. That's the reality of it. Like, that's where they're at. And in terms of the Jarrett conversation, it's funny because a year ago at this time, everybody wanted Jarrett out of town.
Right.
Get Jarrett out of here. Look, he was terrible against the Knicks. Now it's like, Jarrett's pretty good. Let's keep Jarrett.
Yeah.
There's two reasons why you would trade Jarrett. Number one is, and again, going back to our report after the Boston game, if it's untenable in the locker room, if guys feel like he quit on them,
Yeah, sure.
and you can't bring him back. It doesn't sound as if that's the case.
That's right.
So if you clear that hurdle, the only other reason to trade him is if you find a wing who can make you significantly better, which that may not exist, and if you feel like you can't play two non-shooting bigs together. But they've come out and told you they feel like Kenny Atkinson could unlock Evan Mobley. So they feel like Kenny is what will make Evan make this work. So the best way to play two non-shooting bigs together is to make one of them a shooting big.
Right.
So if Kenny can get that out of Evan, then that also alleviates a reason to trade Jarrett. The reason to trade him is because his trade value will never be higher. Look at the contract that Hartenstein just signed. Yeah. Jarrett Allen's a much better player than
and
Hartenstein.
He's not getting paid much more.
And Hartenstein's making $29 million. Jarrett's making
it's 29? I thought.
I think it's 29.
Oh, so it's way more than Jarrett's
He's making $29 million.
Well, Allen's eligible for the $30 million extension, so it's pretty in line with what Allen's
all
going
right,
to get.
but Allen's definitely
You're right.
better.
Allen's a better player than Hartenstein. It's not frankly that much of a discussion.
He's a better player, and he's on a better contract right now. So if you feel like this is peak value for Jarrett, and like this is the most you're going to get, like you'll never get more from him than you probably will right now. As a non-shooting big on a good contract, coming off a good year, this is probably his peak value. So that would be a reason why you would be incentivized to trade him. But if you think you can make Evan, and to me, like, it's not Darius, it's not Jarrett. If someone on this team is going to be better than Donovan, it's going to be Evan Mobley.
EDP?
I don't think internal growth is enough. I think like taking this core four to another level, I don't think that's enough to remain competitive in the Eastern Conference, because even if you unlock the best version of every single player on this team, roster construction is still an issue. And once you get to the playoffs, I think matchups become a serious thing, right? This team still got two guards that's between 6'1" and 6'2". Mm-hmm. You got a shooting guard that's 6'3", 6'4". There's not a lot of length out there on the court for the Cavaliers that's currently constructed. And I just think that when you lack length and athleticism, no matter how much you can unlock the potential of certain guys, you're going to run into matchup problems when it really matters the most, and know your best just not going to be good enough. So I still think that moves need to be made. To Jason's point about Evan Mobley, because to me, it seems like everything I heard from Kenny Atkinson was geared towards, I need to unlock Evan. I think we all believe that Evan has superstar potential. Will he reach it or not? We don't know. But I think if he does, that can go a long way in changing the opinion of how people view the Cavaliers externally. And I think internally, once they see him become that star, they might look at their situation a little different as well. So, I mean, he's the X factor in all this. But even with the core four staying together and developing, you still got to do something with the rest of this roster to improve things.
Sure.
So, yeah.
No, I think everybody agrees on that. But, by the way, Giannis didn't become a superstar till year 4.
He was 19. Evan's 19.
They're the same age, right?
Yeah.
Development takes time.
Yeah.
It doesn't happen overnight.
It was year 4. Year 3 wasn't an all-star. Year 3, Giannis's numbers were similar to what Mobley's were last year. Now, Mobley, it's been a little steadier as opposed to Giannis, who went up, 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 and then up.
Giannis was incredibly raw when he came in.
Right.
Evan was, 19, you're always raw.
Yeah.
But he was a little bit more polished. And but it's...
I watched this documentary, and it just made me kind of respect Giannis more as a player.
Don't tell Tyvus that.
Like just how
hard
hard,
not to like him.
like how hard he worked
Yeah.
at his craft and wanting to develop as a player and being great. Then they talked about when his family finally came to America and he was able to just lock all the way in on basketball. He became one of the scariest players in this league.
So yes or no, real quick, before I throw out a trade idea for you guys.
Yeah.
Is eternal growth, if these guys all reach their full potential, is that enough to keep up in the arms race in the East with the Knicks, who have now Anunoby and Bridges, the Celtics, who just won the championship, the Sixers, who just signed Paul George?
With the right pieces around that four, I think it is, yes. I think so.
Jason?
I thought I talked long enough to get out of actually having to answer it.
He went around 90.
Yeah. I don't.
You don't think
I
so?
know.
If Mobley became a superstar,
If
you don't
Mobley
think so?
becomes a superstar,
Well, that's what I'm saying. If he reaches
if Mobley
his full
becomes a
potential-
superstar, then yes.
yeah, it's hard to imagine it right
But
now.
that's
but
a big. That's a.
it's a
big
huge if. Yes.
It's a big if.
The only way is if Mobley becomes a superstar. That's it.
Yeah, for me right now, it's like, even if all four of them develop and grow, as currently constructed overall, I still say no, it's not
But
enough.
if Mobley becomes Giannis, why couldn't that be possible?
I mean, AD. If Mobley becomes Anthony Davis.
Okay.
Giannis isn't a good comp for him. AD's a better comp.
Why? Explain it
They
to
just
me.
play very differently. They play.
Okay, fine.
Now, if Atkinson can develop him into more of a Giannis who's a downhill driver like that, we just haven't seen that a lot from Mobley, maybe.
Right.
But I think what we've seen so far from Mobley resembles a lot more of Anthony Davis than it does Giannis.
Okay, fine. So if he becomes Anthony Davis,
Yes.
they couldn't win
They're
a title?
They're a title contender.
Okay.
With Anthony Davis and prime Donovan, they are a title contender.
Well, there you go. Now, the percentage chance that happens is probably low, but
I don't know. I don't.
But
know
it's
if
not impossible.
It's not impossible.
Yeah.
I don't even know that it's low. I don't
Okay,
know that I
good.
would say. I don't know if it's likely.
30%? Give me 30%? 30, 33?
Let me ask you this. When Anthony Davis was coming out of Kentucky, and you know they always do player comps or, what's his ceiling. Can you compare that to when Evan Mobley came out of USC to you? Who you think has the biggest ceiling at the time that they were drafted? Him or AD?
Davis is not close.
He was a much bigger prospect, right?
Well,
than
AD
Mobley.
was a guard. He was going to Cleveland State.
clear.
He was committed to Cleveland State. He was like a 6'2" guard.
Yeah.
And then he grew like 6 inches, 8 inches. So he had all these ball handling skills of a guard and suddenly had the height of a forward.
Anthony Davis was in that Trevor Lawrence, Andrew Luck type prospect coming out. He wasn't Wemby, which is the highest of high tiers.
Right.
But he was in that next tier of absolute can't miss.
Yeah.
There's no question, no debate. Mobley was a third pick
Yeah.
in a draft that wasn't even regarded like this a superstar laden draft. It was a
Right,
good
right,
draft, but there wasn't a bona fide number one.
You
Davis
have
was.
you
a
trade.
number one.
Because I got a random basketball
No,
question
we got
after.
a trade idea, but
Yeah.
I got to remind everybody that if you need therapy,
I finished both my work.
this segment that we're about to talk about is brought to us by BetterHelp. Sometimes we all need the opportunity to get something off our chest, big or small. Certain things can really start to get to you, and it's important to let that out, especially someone who's unbiased on your life. So today, I want to say how I really feel, and it's something you might even be thinking about as well. I am a little bummed that summer is being flown by so fast, and we're already into the month of July, and it just doesn't feel like I've taken enough advantage of the warm weather and the great times yet. So I've had to talk to my therapist to get advice and learn a little bit on how to appreciate living in the moment and taking advantage of this. And if I can get therapy and have it help me, I'm sure it'll work for you as well. Therapy can be different for everyone, and most of us has bigger problems in our lives than our favorite sports teams, and it's important to get some of those things off your chest every once in a while. So if you're thinking about starting therapy, give BetterHelp a try. It's entirely online, designed to be flexible and suited to your schedule. Visit BetterHelp.com/lockedon to get 10% off your first month. That is BetterHelp, HELP.com/lockedon. The Cavs have been linked to Brandon Ingram for a while now. Mm-hmm. It has been reported over the last few days that the Kings are also interested in Brandon Ingram. And there's been a couple people who texted me and asked, or really tweeted at me and said, "What is there a 3-team trade possibility here?" So I said, all right, let me go in the trade machine. Let's see if I can whip up something that at least makes sense on paper. I'm not saying I would do this. I just think this is what the framework of a trade would probably look like if the Cavs, the Kings, and the Pelicans all came together and tried to work something out here. The Pelicans want Jarrett Allen, the Cavs are looking for wings, and the Kings would get Brandon Ingram in this deal. So if somebody called Koby Altman and Mike Gansey and offered this deal where the Cavs would get Keegan Murray, 4th overall pick a couple years ago, a 6'8", wing who scored 16 points a game last year, a very efficient three-point shooter, Kevin Huerter, a 6'7" wing with a high three-point clip, was in a three-point contest, and a first-round pick. Is that enough to part ways with Jarrett Allen and George Niang, knowing Brandon Ingram would also be headed to Sacramento?
I don't know enough about those guys, so I'll let you go. I didn't know anything about them until Mike mentioned them.
I mean, I seen the Kings, for one, play on the West Coast, so it's hard to really catch Sacramento
who's watching them
basketball.
play?
I know they put up a lot of points. They're an exciting team to watch. Due to sports gambling, I know a little bit about Murray. I done put a couple dollars his way. The guy, Kevin, I did see him in the three-point shootout. I mean, you get another first-round pick that's not your own, so I assume, Jason, that you could put that in the deal next year if you needed to, because it's not a pick that belongs to you.
Correct.
Yeah. You can
Okay,
trade
so then that gives you another trade asset that you currently don't have. I think that when I say all of that, and then I remember Mike saying last week that Woj identified Evan Mobley as the long-term center for the Cleveland Cavaliers, then yeah, I would make that deal. I think moving George Niang money is it can be huge in helping us get talent down the road, but I would make that deal.
Jason?
You'd have my attention with that. I'd have to
Dive deeper.
It's not an immediate no from me. I don't know about you, Mike. It's not an immediate no for me. I think the hang up with Ingram obviously is what you have to pay him going forward, and I think the concern, like I mentioned before, is with the aprons, the first apron, the second apron. If you're paying Donovan a max, if you're paying Evan
Mobley.
a max.
Garland.
Yeah, Garland's already on a max. So it's not even so much the risk of would Brandon Ingram not live up to the contract. It's what levers
Well,
are
but
taken
Ingram's
away
not on the Cavs in this trade.
No, I know, but
Yeah.
I'm going back to
Just straight up for Ingram.
straight up for
Yeah, yeah.
Ingram. The concern is what levers are taken away from you because you've
Yeah.
and all these guys on
Right.
a max. So I
And
think
Ingram's injury prone.
he is injury prone.
Mike, would you make
you'd
this
have my
trade?
attention with that. I'd have to look at it more.
I have been a massive Keegan Murray fan since his days at Iowa.
Yeah.
Like he's 6'8", he's a dead-eye three-point shooter. He just finished his second year in the league. Through 2 years for his career, you see his stats on the board. He's a 14-point-per-game scorer. As a secondary option, he's a they run their offense through Sabonis and De'Aaron Fox and Malik Monk. He's a guy who fits in. I think he's a really, really talented player entering his third year. It buys you some more financial flexibility. I am very high on Keegan Murray, so I would have a long discussion with everyone in the front office, because I'm not trading Jarrett Allen just to trade Jarrett Allen.
Correct.
But you are getting a super talented young wing in Keegan Murray, a three-point marksman in Kevin Huerter, who couldn't really play in the playoffs last year, but at least he's 6'7", and he's
Why
been
couldn't he play in the
three-point
playoffs?
contest. He started missing shots, and if he's not making shots,
He's useless.
but he's bigger than most.
Yeah.
I don't call useless. He's 6'7", 200 pounds. Like he's not a tiny guy who's a giant defensive liability.
Right.
For his career, he's a 38.5% three-point shooter.
Can we see the trade? Can I see that again? Can I see the trade again?
Yeah. So I would think long and hard about this one. I'll be honest.
I
I really
actually-
like Keegan Murray though,
I actually think Sacramento says no to that.
Yeah, why would Sacramento do it?
because they're going all in right now. I don't know why else. I mean, and once again, I only put this together because there are reports that Sacramento is interested in Brandon Ingram. They already have De'Aaron Fox on a huge deal and Sabonis on a huge deal.
Yeah.
And that's the thing is, I just think, and again, this is like we're entering a new era of the NBA that even the teams don't even fully understand. Like
They're scared of it.
Yes, and I've talked to teams who feel like we're still trying to get our bearings around some of this stuff. But rookie contracts have always been very valuable in the NBA. It's more so than ever. Like guys on rookie deals, productive players on smaller contracts are now more valuable than ever before. So I actually look at that and say I don't think Sacramento would do that.
Of all three, I think I'm agree with Jason. They're probably the least likely. But if I'm Sacramento and you've been kind of in limbo the last couple of years, you have De'Aaron Fox, you have Sabonis, you can't make it past the 60. They haven't made it out of the first round of the playoffs, unless I'm forgetting, but I don't think they made it out the first round. That would make you a better team immediately and maybe push you up. And just like the Cavs made that tangible progress beating Orlando, maybe the Kings ownership says we need tangible progress. We need to win a playoff series. Ingram gets you closer. But
I don't see Sacramento's owner paying that salary to Ingram. Like, I'd be shocked. He's they're cheap. Vivek is not a big spender.
I'm just. They were linked to it. I was
Yeah,
asked
I
to put something
know,
together, so I
I know.
put something together.
I know.
But if it was offered to the Cavs, at least from the Cleveland standpoint,
Yeah.
Murray Herter in a first is if you could turn Jarrett Allen and Niang.
Jared Allen and Yang into that's pretty good.
That's a pretty damn
That's pretty
good return.
Then you cooking
You got super chats?
with fish grease.
'Cause I
We have one
quick
super
question I
chat
wanted
poll.
to ask.
One super chat, then you could ask your question.
Yeah.
Monty Berry said,
Monty.
he said I think he's referring to Donovan Mitchell.
Hmm.
He said on the Paul George podcast he loves Cleveland. I think he means Donovan Mitchell.
So what does that mean?
I don't know.
That's the super chat.
That's a super chat.
Oh, I thought you were trying to make a point or something.
No, his super chat just said, quote, he said on the Paul George podcast he loved Cleveland, end quote.
Okay, great. Let me ask you this question, because it got brought up the other day, and I think the answer to this question, like many of this type, are generational. And I'm just curious what your answers are. Because I have a guess as to what everybody on this panel's answer will be, and I'm just curious. Who is the better all-time player in the NBA? Steph Curry or Larry Bird?
Larry Bird.
Larry Bird.
I thought that went without saying.
Okay.
Larry Legend.
I'm surprised. I thought the younger guys would say Steph Curry.
Steph.
I
Steph's
think
the
the
best
better
shooter.
debate, if you want to really
The only reason I brought that up is because I saw a video of somebody talking about it. That's why I brought they're different players, obviously, but
I have to update it. I would say 3 or 4 years ago, like my top 10 players ever,
yeah.
or my top 20 players ever. And the one that I had the most difficult placing was Steph and Kobe.
A Kobe, huh?
Why
Compared
Kobe?
to Steph. I have Steph ahead of Kobe by 1 spot.
Really?
Yeah.
I would not have Steph ahead of Kobe. Would you guys?
No.
Not
I
at
think I'd
all.
have Kobe. I'd have Kobe.
I mean,
ahead
and
of
they're
Steph.
literally like this. It's one, and then Kobe. I had one behind Steph.
I was looking at was it? Didn't the NBA do the top? I don't know who did this. Was it ESPN?
NBA to the top 75.
75 of all time. I think it was 2 years ago.
It was here in Cleveland, right? When they
that
did
what it was?
Yeah, it was here in
I
Cleveland.
think you're right.
It was 2021.
And it was MJ was 1, LeBron was 2, Kareem 3, Magic 4, Wilt 5, Bill Russell 6, Bird 7, Tim Duncan 8, Oscar Robertson 9, Kobe 10, Shaq 11, Kevin Durant 12, Hakeem Olajuwon 13, Julius Erving 14, Moses Malone 15, Steph Curry 16.
But Steph won a title since then.
Okay, I'll just do the rest of the top 20. Dirk 17, Giannis 18, Jerry West 19, and Elgin Baylor 20.
Somebody tried to tell me Luka was better than Dirk.
No.
Not yet. I mean, he hasn't played long enough.
No, but that's what I was saying.
Yeah.
Like
He might be
He
when
ain't
he
even won a
retires.
championship yet.
Yeah.
So
He hasn't even gotten to a championship, right?
like Dirk was that dude,
Yeah,
man.
Dirk was.
He got to a championship this year.
Oh, yeah. I forgot.
Dirk
I forgot.
was.
That's how
2
close
weeks
I was
ago.
paying attention.
Dirk was special.
Yeah.
Dirk was special.
So you have Steph Curry ahead of Kobe. I do not.
I do not.
But literally 1 spot.
Okay. I mean, I do think there's something
And it was
to be
only
said-
because, can
Yeah.
I just tell you why?
Go ahead.
And it's when Kobe had the run early,
Yeah.
incredible. And then there was a stretch for a while where they weren't good. Like they had back-to-back-to-back number 2 overall picks. And I just thought when you look at the overall career,
Yeah.
there was never that lull. Now, granted, it took a little longer for Steph to reach the ascension, but once he was there, and I know he had Clay and Draymond and Kevin Durant came in, and it was all iterations. The only year they ever sucked was the year he got hurt. There was a couple years
Yeah,
in
but
a
they
row.
sucked early in his career. I mean, did they suck early in Kobe's career? I can't
He
remember.
came in where it was Shaq, and they won.
But
3
that's
right away.
team stuff too, Mike. I don't know that
But I'm
it's
just
fair
saying
to
he
judge
was
it that
when
way.
he was the only guy on his team. They were.
I-
They weren't good. They weren't that great. As good as Kobe was, he
Yeah.
wasn't able to elevate guys in a certain way that I thought Steph
yeah.
was able to when he was the only guy.
I do think that there's Steph gets a little underrated because of his size, and a lot of people don't want to give him credit. But I don't think there's anybody that in their prime would take Steph over Kobe. I just can't see that.
I think because Steph is such a great shooter,
Yeah.
that for whatever reason, that in itself catapults him a bunch ahead of a bunch of other players. But like Kobe was a 6'6" assassin that was a 3-level scorer and that can defend, and he had that clutch gene. So
whether you like it or not, though, compared to most of these guys, Steph's a way better teammate. A lot of these guys were shitty to their teammates. Steph is a great teammate, right? Jason, I mean, you know that
People
better than
love
me.
him.
But
Yeah. I mean,
Like-
Steph's the greatest shooter in the history of the game, but I can't put him.
it took me a long time to convince myself because I was a kid that grew up watching Ray Allen and Reggie Miller.
Steph's
but
the best.
Steph is the
And it ain't
best.
even close.
Yeah.
But I do think like Larry Bird, Kobe could play in any era,
Yeah.
any generation.
Yeah,
they would
right.
dominate.
So could Magic.
Steph in the '80s,
No chance.
when 3-point shooting
No, he
wasn't
couldn't.
what it is today.
He couldn't have played then. No way.
You guys are tripping.
I'm
No way,
serious.
Mike.
He could shoot then, but the 3-point shot was not emphasized.
They would beat the shit out of him.
The best players would thrive in any era.
He would have had to have been the one that brought on the 3-point revolution because they didn't like that shot in the '80s. They thought it was a bad shot. I mean, I know Bird was a great 3-point shooter, and maybe
But he
Steph
didn't
was
shoot the ball a lot.
and maybe Steph was the one that
Yeah.
would have brought that era of basketball in.
Yeah, who knows?
But
All right,
See you in
we'll
overtime.
we'll see you on overtime.
Peace.
We got to get to overtime quick because I got to pee, man.
go pee.